Today, an entitled Karen cussed me out and caused a scene in front of several customers, all because she didn't get exactly what she wanted out of me, as she literally had the gall of calling me stupid and saying that I'm incompetent, despite the fact that I was literally a veteran and I was definitely not going to take this sitting down. So I shut down this Karen in a way that I know for a fact she will never forget, because her spoiled attitude absolutely deserved to get punished. Welcome back to Am I the Jerk, the only show where karma is delicious, and yes, you get to experience it firsthand. Because the Karen in this first story absolutely deserves it, because they are the worst. My god, you're gonna love this first one. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. And with that, let's get started. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I was working at Lowe's in the flooring department. I was freshly and honorably discharged from the Army about 6 months prior to getting the job at Lowe's, and trust me when I say this will be relevant later on. Granted, I hadn't worked at the store very long, so I didn't know everything there was to know about flooring, and was by no means an expert. But the one thing I knew for sure was not to let the customers take the folders that contained the flooring details for personal use. This was really stressed to me during my training by both the computer training modules and my managers. Customers are not to take the detail that was done. This was because we often offered like free flooring details in quotes, and if the customers had their free detail measurements in hand, they could simply take the measurements to another business and have them do the installation for a potentially better price. So Lowe's just didn't want that happening. Well, this is where we enter with the absolute unit of an entitled woman and her submissive husband. I'm busy at the flooring desk taking calls and helping customers, and this woman walks up to my desk. She claims that she had a detail done recently and, you guessed it, she wants to take her folder home with her. Well, I politely but firmly explained to her that it's against store policy for customers to take their measurements home with them. Well, when I say this, she starts causing a scene, exclaiming that those were her measurements done on her house, so apparently they belong to her. I then tell her that I'm happy to get a manager on the phone so they can better explain the policy to her, and confirm that I am telling her the right information. She then begins berating me, invading my personal space, and just getting in my face, being absolutely obnoxious. Now, as I'm trying to reach my manager on the phone, she is literally screaming in my face. She's saying, "Why do you need to call a manager? Why do you need to call a manager? You're new here. Are you stupid or something?" Now, you see, I'm used to people screaming in my face in the military. It didn't really bother me in the slightest. But where I drew the line was when she called me stupid. I'm not usually one to pull the whole veteran card, but I wasn't about to let this woman walk all over me. She needed to know what's up. And you know what? I was finally in a position where I didn't have to put up with people screaming in my face, and I could tell them off. My manager was busy and wasn't answering the phone, so I hung up the phone and I calmly responded by saying, "Ma'am, I was a sergeant in the Army. I'm not some 18-year-old who you can walk all over. Just so you know, I don't need this job. And I definitely don't need you screaming in my face telling me that I'm stupid. Now, I'm happy to walk up to the front of the store with you so we can speak to a manager and get this resolved. I'm here to help you, so how can I help you?" She then huffed and started cursing and making an even bigger scene as she gathered her purse and her husband, and they began walking over to customer service. I then grabbed her folder, and the people who were standing in line behind her began apologizing, saying things like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have to deal with that." But I just shrugged and thanked them for their patience, and I said I would be right back. And I took my sweet time walking right up to the front. By the time I get up to the customer service desk, I spot the lady already complaining to the customer service staff. I quickly spotted my manager, who asked me what was going on, and with folder in hand, I simply said she's trying to take the folder. And my manager, who's a very tall, muscular woman who didn't take anyone's crap, said, "Who's trying to do that?" And it's here that I happily gestured towards the entitled woman. My manager then asked for the folder from me and said, "Okay, thank you. You can go back to the flooring now." And at this point, I happily handed her the folder and began comfortably strolling back to my department. Now, as I was walking away, I hear this woman absolutely losing it, talking about, "Oh, I'm gonna call corporate. Do you even know who I am?" And I just smiled cool as a cucumber, knowing I did something right. She didn't get her way. I didn't get walked all over, and I didn't lose my job. In fact, I never heard another word about it from anybody. So the moral of the story is, don't piss off the veteran working in the customer service industry. In fact, don't piss off anybody in customer service for that matter, because at the end of the day, we are literally just trying to help you out. Dude, it is so nice having a manager who has your back like this, because my god, having someone who like just rolls over, plays dead, and then blames you for this going wrong is the epitome of torture. I've dealt with people like that before, and it is so annoying. Here you are trying to like follow the rules and be like, "Yeah, she's trying to take the folder." And then in my previous universe, you have a manager who's like, "Wow, I can't believe you upset the customer," instead of standing up for you for the policy that they're enforcing. So the fact that you've got this tough lady who's like, "Oh, absolutely not. Who's the lady who tried to do that?" and stood up for you and said, "Oh, I'm going to take care of this. Don't you worry for a second." Like, that is fantastic. That is beautiful. And that's the way it should be, man. So good for you for having good coworkers and for standing up for yourself. Like, seriously, if you're in customer service and anyone starts cussing cussing at you like this, in my mind, you have every right to turn them down and say, I am not serving you today. So the fact that you got this lady shut down and you put her in her place by going through the right channels and doing it right, in my opinion, is beautiful and proves that your manager was cool and you had a very good working environment. If you like Am I the Jerk and what we're doing over here, please check out Am I the Genius. It's going to be linked down below in the description. Just click and go ahead and subscribe to them. And also, if you have your own stories you want to submit, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you want to submit your own stories. We're reading them all the time and we're picking out the best ones, so trust me, we would love to hear what you have to say. My coworker kept trying to take credit for closing tasks at our job. So I decided to get some petty revenge by no longer reminding him to do those jobs, which eventually exposed him for the incompetent moron that he truly was. And I gotta be honest, it was incredibly satisfying to watch it all go down. Here's how it happened. So I used to work the night shift at a small hotel at the front desk. There were only like 2 of us, so it was pretty obvious who actually did the work and who just kind of floated around looking busy. And let me tell you something, my coworker, who I'll call Eric for the sake of the story, was great at the second one. He would avoid the boring stuff like wiping down the coffee station, restocking the key cards, or like getting the breakfast setup ready, and then sit there and act like we had both done equal work. When the morning manager came in, he always made himself sound way more on top of things than he really was. The part that finally got to me was breakfast prep. The night shift was supposed to leave things ready for the morning attendant, including moving the waffle batter from the freezer so it would be usable. Technically, that was a shared responsibility, but the only reason it ever got done was because I reminded Eric every shift at around like 5 o'clock in the morning. I did it because if it got missed, morning shift complained at both of us. Then one morning, Eric told our manager that I was forgetful about closing details, but that he always caught things behind me. Well, after that, I stopped reminding him. I still did my own work, mind you, but I just stopped giving him the one nudge that let him act competent. Well, 3 shifts later, and the breakfast attendant opened the freezer and realized the waffle batter had never been moved. Well, the manager asked what happened, and Eric immediately tried to say he thought I handled that part. But my manager just looked at him and said, I thought you said you always double check behind her. At that point, the room got real quiet real fast. He didn't get fired or anything like that, but after that, he stopped trying to act like my supervisor in name tag and somehow started remembering breakfast prep all by himself, not to mention helping me out a lot more like he should have from the very beginning. Okay, dude, I gotta be honest, I've had coworkers like this in the past, and I've always wanted to do this to them. I can never find a reason to try and put them in their place and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to expose you for being lazy. So seeing this is just beautiful. I love everything about this. Because dude, working with someone like this is so exhausting. It is so tiring because it's the same garbage over and over again. They're always trying to make themselves look better than you, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm the one really doing the work around here. When in reality, it's not them at all. They're not doing anything right. So yeah, this was some beautiful karma. I love the way the original poster handled this, and I just love that Eric got put in his place because clearly he deserved it way sooner than this. Am I the jerk for turning my Dungeons & Dragons party against me all because of an accident? Because right now I'm not sure if my Dungeon Master is punishing me or if I'm really at fault here, because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, so I think I messed up and I don't really know what to do here. My friends and I have been playing this campaign in Dungeons & Dragons for over a year now, and we've been pretty consistent with each session. However, I feel like I made a huge mistake and I don't know if I should pull out of the campaign. Our party ended up in a brothel looking for information about a bandit leader who lived in the city. Through roleplay, we eventually discovered that the workers were trapped by their boss, who was a demon. Now, my character is a chaotic good druid, so I figured if I started a small fire, then we could escape while the fire made a distraction. Well, my dungeon master did not like this. What I said would happen is basically this would start a small fire on the curtains of this brothel, but he literally escalated it into like the entire brothel burning down, and that we had 5 minutes to get out of the collapsing building. Even more, he said that there was a curse on the workers that prevented them from leaving. My party then blamed me for committing an unnecessary war crime, but I just kept protesting that I just wanted to start a small fire and that I didn't think it would burn down so quickly. Some of the party agreed that our dungeon master burned the brothel down too quickly, but one of my friends and another player were very upset and actually roleplayed ratting my character out to the city guard. We ended the session with my character low on hit points and hiding in the sewer. So am I the jerk here? Like, should I tell the dungeon master not to include my character in our next session because I really don't know what to do? Okay, I gotta be completely honest with you. I think there is a lot of things wrong with this situation, and it absolutely begins with the original poster. First off, I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for over 10 years, so I've got a very solid opinion on this, but if your character is chaotic good and you're going around starting small fires, chances are your dungeon master either is not okay with this or he's sick of your crap, which is why he burned down the whole building in the first place. Like, think about it for a second. He's probably exhausted with this stupid stuff that you keep doing, because look at it from from his perspective, dude, he literally is working so hard on this story and he's trying to get some kind of like, I don't know, environment and narrative going. And here you are in the corner lighting some matches and being like, I'm gonna create a distraction in the corner. Like, dude, I gotta be honest with you, and I really don't want to like offend you or anything like that, but I hate playing with players like you because it is so annoying to get through any kind of interaction. You literally got all the information you needed, dude. You knew that, okay, this guy's a demon, the workers are trapped, and it's like, okay, we can figure this out. But instead of going through the narrative like the dungeon master literally like, I don't know, spelled out for you, you're like, let me just start a fire again. And I guarantee you this is not the first time you've done this. Anyone who uses their alignment in Dungeons & Dragons to justify crappy actions, in my opinion, is a terrible player. Like, you're making it miserable for everybody. And I don't know, maybe the dungeon master is just shy, but if I was your dungeon master, dude, I would have told you to cut that crap out like 5 levels ago. Like, seriously, that is so annoying. So yes, I do think the original poster's the jerk here. Because guess what? The dungeon master did burn the brothel down on purpose. They said, okay, you want to start fires? Congratulations, here's the consequences. You just killed everybody just like you're trying to kill my campaign. And also, what chaotic good person is going to go around and be like, let me start a fire real quick to create a distraction? There are so many different cantrips and spells you could have used that would have been better distractions than, I don't know, starting a fire. And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as like really sharp and annoyed, but like, dude, I've dealt with players like you at my own table and it is so annoying. While the rest of us are trying to like, I don't know, play the game and role play, you're over here trying to find some workaround of like, oh, it's fine, I'll create a distraction. So yes, you are absolutely the jerk. I can't stand players like you, and I really hope this teaches you a lesson to actually go along with the narrative, because otherwise you might as well leave this campaign and jump into like Skyrim of all games and just start lighting people on fire, because that's essentially what you're doing, but at the expense of everybody else's time. And that is unacceptable and very annoying to deal with. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my roommate move his stuff after he literally told our landlord I had a cat, which in effect made me move out of our apartment? Because right now I'm getting the guilt trip from everybody to just let it go and to somehow forgive my roommate, despite the fact that this literally upended my entire life. Here's what's currently happening. Okay, so I've had my cat called Miso for about 3 years. And when I moved into this apartment, I was upfront with my roommate, who I will call Dan, about her before we even signed anything. And he said that he was fine with it and didn't have any allergies, so there was honestly no issues. So I thought to myself, okay, cool, this might actually work. Well, fast forward to last month. I come home and Dan tells me that he mentioned to our landlord in an offhanded way that I have a cat. And yes, our lease has a no pets clause. I now have 30 days to rehome Miso or move out. I asked him why he did it, and he said it just came up in conversation and he didn't think it would be that big of a deal. But it's like, are you kidding me? Didn't think it would be a big deal? I've had her for 3 years and he knew the entire time, and he just casually drops it in a conversation. I ended up finding a new place faster than expected, and a friend of mine is taking Miso temporarily while I get settled. Dan is now also moving out because without me splitting rent, he can't afford the place. And it's here that he actually asked me if I could help him move his furniture next weekend since I have a truck. But guess what? I said no. He then got pretty upset and said I was being petty and that it wasn't intentional. And now his girlfriend's texting me separately saying that I'm being really unkind. But you know what? I don't think I did anything wrong. But apparently my sister says that I should help him out and just let it go. I genuinely don't know if I'm being stubborn or if this is a reasonable boundary, because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna say this for all of us. Screw Dan. And before anyone says it, okay, I get it. You shouldn't have had a pet in the house in the first place. Whatever, I get it, okay? I totally understand that's definitely a big issue here. But there's also the reality of Dan just keeping his mouth shut, dude. Like, seriously, it seems like the cat wasn't bothering anybody. No one would have known that the cat was there in the first place. And sometimes it's better not to throw your roommate under the bus. Like, seriously, everybody was cool with it. You were upfront about having a cat, and like, this really should not have been an issue. So for Dan to do this in such a stupid way, and yeah, Dan was being very dumb here, because that to me is almost just as bad as having like a bad roommate, because Dan did this so like flippantly, and he's like, what's the big deal? I didn't think it was gonna be that big of a deal. Oh wait, you're moving out? My bad. Like, dude, what an idiot. Just keep your mouth shut and none of this would have happened. So for Dan to come at you and be like, hey, sorry I got you kicked out of the apartment. Anyways, can you help me move my furniture? Like, no, absolutely not. I'm not helping you with anything. You threw me under the bus over my cat, so congratulations, you can get your own truck and move it yourself. Because seriously, Dan's at fault here, even if the original poster broke the rules, as there literally was no reason to say anything in the first place. But hey, I'm not perfect, man, so let me know in the comments section, am I wrong? If you had no problem with this cat, would you also tell the roommate that there's a cat in your house? Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. An entitled Karen loses her mind over the cost of alcohol she's trying to buy, as she is screaming and cussing at the cashier in a way that I simply couldn't take anymore, because eventually I spoke up and I put her in her place, resulting in this Karen storming out of the store in a fit of rage. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened a few days ago at a local liquor store, and as I was waiting to be served, I saw these two girls. I'm assuming they were in their like early 20s, and for reference, I was next in line, but I let them go ahead of me because I had a feeling something was going to go down, and man, did they not disappoint. The Karen of this story went to the register to purchase a bottle of wine, and she immediately started complaining about the pricing. Their outfits and demeanor, especially from the ringleader, gave me the impression that they were going to be troubled pretty much from the get-go. I could also tell by their outfits that they were not from here. I live in a small country city, and I knew these girls were from the city itself, and definitely not here. The dialogue went something like this. She said to the cashier, "But that's not right. The price said $12.50, not $13. What's wrong with you? Do you know how to read? This is ridiculous. I mean, come on." She was huffing and puffing and complaining about everything. Then she knocked over a large glass bottle of alcohol that was under the register and broke it. Which, yes, by the way, alcohol smashed all over the floor. Keep in mind that the alcohol placed under the register is cheap, and if this Karen was polite and friendly, the staff member would probably not make her pay for it. But what came out of the cashier's mouth made my day. They looked her square in the eye and said, "I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to pay for that." And this is when the Karen really flipped her lid. She started arguing that she couldn't possibly have knocked it over when I was right behind her, and apparently I could see everything. But yeah, for reference, she definitely knocked it over. But at this point, I had had enough of her antics, and I said to her, "Please, just check your entitlement and grow up." When I said this, the Karen spun around and snapped at me to mind my own business. But I said right to her face, "Well, maybe try to be a nicer person because you seem like a total Karen." Now, I guess you can all imagine how this response was not what she was expecting, because she kicked off big time and started yelling at me. But I just told her that I honestly don't give a crap and that she can take her entitlement elsewhere. Unfortunately, my story doesn't really have an exciting ending or a mic drop moment. I mean, I wish I said bye Karen as they left the store, but at least I stood up to a Karen. I do not do well with confrontation, but now that I'm in my 30s, I'm getting a lot braver and a lot less tolerant of entitled people. So please be kind to retail workers. They're just doing their job and shouldn't have to deal with entitled people like this. Okay, I love this so much, dude, because it connects so well with some of the other stories we cover on this channel. Because seriously, there's no reason to yell at customer service representatives, dude. They're not doing anything wrong. This is just their job. They do this to make rent and that's it. They don't care about the price, but they have to like enforce it. And they're definitely gonna make you pay for something if you break it. Like, I'm sorry, but you gotta pay for it. Especially if you're acting like such a clown like this one lady. Like, what are we doing right now? So good for the original poster for speaking up, dude. You're so right. It's better to say something and try to like diffuse the situation than letting anybody walk all over someone else. Because the customer service retail person didn't do anything wrong. They're just doing their job and they don't deserve this kind of treatment. Today, I just ended a 4-year relationship with my girlfriend after she chose to go to a private hangout at a house with 3 other guys that I don't even know. Because this is just one of many things that kind of led to the end of this relationship, and I honestly feel terrible about it. And I'm not sure how to handle it or even how to move forward. Here's what happened. Okay, I'm struggling to process a breakup that happened just a few hours ago. My girlfriend and I were together for nearly 4 years, and we basically grew up together. Yesterday, she canceled our plans because she said she had a headache and needed to rest. And I really was totally fine with it until like a few hours later when she told me that she was heading out of town today to stay at a private house with 3 guy friends. Her reason was that they were bored of our local hangout spots. I then told her clearly that I wasn't comfortable with the private setting, not to mention the timing, especially since she was sick for our plans together, but somehow healthy enough for an out-of-town trip. She told me she just wanted to enjoy and promised to update me from time to time, but I told her that wasn't enough, and when she insisted on going anyways, that's when I ended the relationship. Now, the part that hurts the most is the double standard. Last year, I had a university organization event, and she explicitly asked me not to drink and to ensure I only stayed in a room with other guys. And you know what? I followed her request, not because I felt controlled, but because I loved her, and I didn't want her to spend her night worrying. I assumed that after 4 years, that level of mutual respect and reciprocity was our standard. It's nighttime now, and I know she is likely at that house while I'm here processing the end of a 4-year chapter. I still love her deeply, but I can't comprehend how wanting to enjoy a weekend was worth throwing away the security we built up over the years. So I really need a reality check. Did I do the right thing by ending it, or was I just being too rigid? Is it really being controlling to expect a partner to honor the same boundaries that I've honored for her in the past? And also, how do you handle the realization that someone you've spent 4 years with doesn't value your peace of mind the same way you value theirs? What should I do? Because right now I feel very lost and I just don't know how to handle this. Okay, other people have basically said it in the comments section, but it really seems like your girlfriend wanted to break up, but she didn't want to be the one to say it. Because in my opinion, this feels so premeditated, it's not even funny. And I would even venture to say that she probably has a thing for one of the 3 guys, where it's like, okay, she's going to be spending time with this one guy, and the other guys are going to be hanging out playing video games or doing anything else. Like, I guarantee you that's what's going on. Especially with her being like, oh, I'm too sick to spend time with you, but yes, I'm going to go out of town, that's going to be fun. And it's like, wait a second, there is a double standard. You went out of your way to avoid being around any other women, but on the other hand, she can clearly go and spend time at some house like hours away, and her being like, oh yeah, I just want to enjoy myself. I'll update you from time to time, I guess. Like, no, I don't think so, dude. This is absolutely not okay. So on that end, I understand where the original poster is coming from, because I would also break up with this chick. There's no way I'm putting up with that, dude. That's so weird. And it's super toxic, and it's super hypocritical. Like, this is unacceptable. So no, you didn't do anything wrong. I think it's just going to take some time to realize that she probably checked out of this relationship a while back, and it's only now starting to come to a head. And while I am sorry that it happened to you, and I'm sure this is going to be a tough time for you, I think you're going to be so much better off without her, because she clearly doesn't care about you in the way that you care about her. An entitled Karen tries to claim that I did $2,000 worth of damage to her car when all I did was accidentally bump it with my door, resulting in one of the weirdest blow-ups I've ever seen from a person in my life. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things off, I was parked getting out of my car when the wind blew my door open gently. It barely touched the car next to mine, and there was no visible dent and just a possible mark. Well, I immediately acknowledged it and I offered to exchange information. When I explained it was the wind, not to avoid responsibility, but just to clarify that it wasn't a careless act, this entitled Karen cut me off. She said to me, no, something like this happened before and it cost $2,000. My car is new. At that point, it felt less like she was assessing real damage and more like she was trying to guilt trip and manipulate me. She even pointed out a completely unrelated mark further down and insisted this was from my door too, which made no sense based on where the door touched. And then it escalated fast. She then started filming me and my toddler, who was crying in his car seat, scared and confused. She threatened to call the police, and I was trying to stay calm while juggling my phone, pulling up my insurance application, and soothe my child, but she just kept the camera on us. I could feel my son's distress behind me, and that's when I lost it emotionally and I called 911 myself. I didn't feel safe or respected, and I needed a neutral record of what was happening. After I gave her my info, I went back into the car to comfort my son, who by then was screaming and crying from the stress. I then looked up and she was still filming us. I was literally just trying to calm a scared toddler, and she kept her phone pointed at us like we were some kind of show, and that moment broke me. But you know what? It didn't stop there. When I showed her that I called 911, she told the police that I banged on her window, which was absolutely false. I simply held up my phone near the window to show her the call screen. She also accused me of locking my child in the car with no air circulation, which was so far from the truth it's not even funny. I was right there with the window cracked and the AC on. It was just another manipulation accusation meant to make me panic. She even lied about having the same insurance as me when I first mentioned mine, but it turned out she was with another one. It was just more weird, unnecessary power moves. I know she probably assumed that she could intimidate me because I'm an immigrant and English isn't my first language, and I looked like someone who might not push back, but I didn't back down. I gave her my information, I made the call, and I stood my ground. My husband then showed up by Uber when I called him, and for the first time in the whole interaction, I felt not alone. I'm still feeling the stress hours later, but I am proud of how I handled it. I didn't yell, I didn't film her back, I didn't escalate, and I protected my son and I kept my dignity, because I want him to grow up knowing that we do not back down from unfairness. We do not let people shame us into silence. And even when our hearts are pounding, we still speak up, especially when you're dealing with Karens who act like this. Oh man, this Karen is so far out of line, it's not even funny. Seriously, think about it for a second. She's literally filming you guys and being like, wow, you're a terrible mother. You're gonna pay $2,000 for my door, while also trying to blame you for other marks that she did herself probably. Like, this level of unhinged is completely unacceptable, and I seriously just can't stand when people act like this. So regardless of what this lady says, I really hope you took a lot of pictures of the damage just so you can show the the insurance company that she absolutely is lying to them, because this Karen was clearly trying to scam you out of a lot of money, and that is not fair for you or your family in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate that she can't bring her boyfriend over unless he starts buying groceries, because he quite literally is eating me out of house and home, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so me and my roommate, who we will call Chloe, have been living together for almost a year. We split rent, utilities, and groceries 50-50, and it's been mostly fine until her boyfriend basically started living with us. Like, he's not officially moved in or anything like that, but he's here 4 to 5 nights a week, sometimes even more. He showers here, he sleeps here, and he eats all the time. He will make himself full-on meals with our shared groceries and not even ask us first. And before anyone says anything, yes, I've talked to her about it. I brought it up just kind of casually at first, where I would say to her, hey, do you think your boyfriend could pitch in for groceries since he's here a lot? But Chloe just laughed it off and said, oh, he doesn't even eat that much. For the record, my boyfriend comes over too sometimes, but he only eats food that I specifically bought, like snacks that I keep in my room or label, and he always asks before he does that. One time, he accidentally ate Chloe's leftover takeout from the fridge because he thought it was mine, and she absolutely flipped out, like full-on mad for a whole day kind of flipped out. I apologized and he offered to replace it, but she was still super salty towards him. Meanwhile, her boyfriend's making grilled cheese, eggs, ramen, helping himself to whatever's in the fridge, like it's some kind of free-for-all. I let it go for a bit, but last week I went to make lunch and I realized he finished the last of the eggs, bacon, and lunch meat that I bought, and that was my last straw. I mean, I'm a college student. I literally cannot afford this. I told her again, but more directly this time, that if he's gonna be here that often and eating our food, he needs to start contributing, or just not eat stuff that I paid for. Chloe got super defensive and said I'm being unfair, and that I'm gatekeeping food, and that I'm making things awkward when he's literally just existing. I said it's not about him being here. It's about him acting like he lives here without actually paying to live here. Now she's barely speaking to me and said that I'm ruining her vibe and making her feel like she can't have her boyfriend over. I'm seriously not trying to be controlling, but I also don't want to be feeding a third person for free. So did I overreact in this scenario? My boyfriend, my best friend, and my mom are the only people who know about this. My boyfriend and best friend are on my side, while my mom thinks this would be a stupid thing to end a friendship over, and I should just let it go before it turns into something bigger. What should I do? Okay, I am 100% on the original poster side here, because this guy's eating all of your food. This is a really simple solution, like Chloe's boyfriend needs to step up and start paying for his share, especially if he's here 4 to 5 nights a week. Like, at that point, you basically live here and you need to start contributing or get out. And it's the fact that he's polishing off all of your groceries, like that in and of itself would make me go crazy. I would be super frustrated, I would be really annoyed, and that would not be okay for me. Like, seriously, I would be super upset. So yes, you have every right to be pissed off, because what your roommate's allowing, in my opinion, is completely unacceptable. Am I the jerk for going off on my friends after they made fun of my 9-year-old niece with really cruel jokes, which eventually led to her crying and breaking down? Here's what happened. Okay, so here's the situation. I'm a teenager and I was hanging out with a group of friends who love to joke around a lot, and I'm used to their sense of humor. It's sarcastic, edgy, and sometimes borderline mean, but I've known them long enough to know what's serious and what's not. My younger 9-year-old niece, however, is not used to that kind of humor. She wanted to talk to them while I was gaming or chatting with them, and I warned her and I said, you might not like them, they're not always the nicest people, but she insisted. She really wanted to join in and seemed really excited, so I agreed. But I specifically told my friends beforehand, hey, she's only 9. Please don't go too far or say anything mean. And when I said that, they agreed. Everything was fine for the first few minutes. She was talking with them and even singing a little. I went to the bathroom for literally a minute or two, and when I came back, she was on the bed crying and shaking. I asked her what happened, and she told me that they were making fun of her singing and saying mean things to her. I looked at the chat, and sure enough, I saw some of their comments, and they were sarcastic and really mocking. And I don't care if they say it was just jokes. She was clearly not okay. I told them, what is going on? I told you not to go too far. They replied by saying, we're just joking, quit being dramatic. And you know what? That just set me off. I said, no, she's a kid. You don't say that to kids. That's common sense. You guys are jerks. After that, I blocked them and I haven't spoken to them since. But they keep trying to spin it like I overreacted and can't take a joke. But I really don't think I was wrong for standing up for her. She is just a little kid who wanted to hang out and got emotionally wrecked instead. I know I went off on them hard, but I'm still furious about it. And honestly, if someone did that to your younger sibling or niece or cousin, wouldn't you go off too? So seriously, I really need to know if I'm I'm the jerk because I'm not sure if I took things a little too far. No, you're not in the wrong here. Your friends are idiots. They also don't sound like good friends in the slightest because in my experience, people who constantly make these kind of jokes usually are not joking around. There's usually some kind of truth in what they're saying, but they're framing this as a joke even though they really mean it and they're just being jerks. So yeah, these people suck and you can definitely find better friends than this because anyone who willingly makes a child cry, in my opinion, is a massive piece of crap. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that he can't be upset that a girl he had a crush on has a boyfriend? Because right now he's pissed off at me and is refusing to talk to me. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 22-year-old female and I was friends with this guy who's 25 years old and he was telling me about his work crush. He said that she has the perfect body and her face isn't that bad. And for reference, I work with him so I know he has never spoken to this girl. This girl 2 days later became friends with me and I find out that she has a boyfriend. So I tell my friend because I thought it would save him the embarrassment of trying to ask out a taken woman. He then texts me and says he's really disappointed and wished that he didn't tell me that he had a crush on her because he didn't want to know that she had a boyfriend. He had told me he was going to ask her out, so he would have found out eventually anyways. And this makes me upset because why are you so upset when you never spoke to this girl and we've only worked with her for 3 days? She also rarely talks at work, so it's not like he could like her personality from that. And now I'm friends with her and I actually like her a lot, so it makes me even more upset that he would depersonalize her like that. I responded by saying, "You don't know her, how could you even care?" I then realized that was a bit mean, so I was like, "It's okay, I'm sure you'll find someone eventually." He then proceeds to ignore me for 2 days, so I text him and I ask if we're still on for hanging out tomorrow, since we said we would before that text. He responds back by saying no, so I tried to call him so that we could talk, but he declines it. I then texted him and he told me that he was upset because of the comment. I explained that, and as he knows since I have told him before, that I have been used for my body multiple times by men who don't care about my personality. So when he made that comment about her body, it really upset me. He responds by saying, "Stop texting me." And I was confused and I asked, "Okay, are you serious right now?" He then said, "Stop texting me, it's bothering me." And now I'm confused because that feels like a crazy reaction in response to my text. I know it wasn't nice, but to stop being friends with me altogether seems insane. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because I honestly don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. Your friend is weird. You would think him finding out that this girl is taken would be like a relief of some kind, because then he really can't avoid being embarrassed and like humiliating himself. And the fact that he's like cutting you off and acting like, "Oh, stop texting me, you're bothering me." This guy is clearly super immature, and I think you can find way better friends than this guy. Today, I messed up by meeting my girlfriend's family, who she told me multiple times was a messed up group of people. But despite the fact that I didn't believe them, once I met them, I realized very quickly how bad things truly were, eventually leading to me begging my girlfriend that we leave and never come back here ever again. Here's what happened. My girlfriend always described her family as people I would never want to meet in person because they were apparently the worst. I struggled to believe that anyone related to her was as bad as she made it sound, especially because she never wanted to tell me anything about her relatives, so I had nothing to go on. Well, since I recently flew all the way to South Africa to spend time with my girlfriend, I encouraged her to introduce me to her family. Well, my girlfriend agreed to take me to her mom and dad's house if I agreed to leave her family out of our relationship going forward, and I said I promised. Well, fast forward to my girlfriend deciding to drive me straight from the airport to her family's house, and I was unaware that we were on our way to meet the family until I paid closer attention to where we were, which was not where my girlfriend lived. My girlfriend said I wanted to meet her messed up family so bad, so she was about to introduce them to me. I said I didn't expect us to go on this journey as soon as I landed, but I guess we're gonna meet this messed up family one way or another. My girlfriend referred to the area we entered as the Cape Flats, which appeared to be a low-income community. As my girlfriend was driving deeper into the Cape Flats, she pointed at various groups of guys standing on different street corners and said if I wanted to avoid getting stabbed, then I should avoid going to those guys. One of the guys actually noticed my girlfriend and waved at her as we passed him. She waved back at him before telling me that she used to date that dude, but then he ended up going to prison for beating up one of her math teachers because said teacher made her come to school on a Saturday, which was supposed to be their day. By the time we arrived at our destination, I learned that I could get taken out and that my girlfriend used to be in love with a guy who might have been capable of doing that. Well, fast forward to meeting the family, and my girlfriend and I had to let ourselves into the house because everyone was too busy enjoying themselves by the cookout in the backyard. No one was sober when we showed up, and the dad welcomed me with a beer and asked if I had American money on me because he always wanted to see a dollar with his own eyes. So I opened up my wallet and I showed him a dollar. The dad showed the dollar to the rest of the family, including his wife, who then proceeded to put the dollar in her bra before telling me to come and get it. Well, my girlfriend then just looked at me like, "Well, I warned warned you, didn't I? So I made peace with the fact that my money was most likely gone for good because I was not planning on going there just to get $1. My girlfriend eventually pulled me away from her parents and introduced me to her brother, who gave me a quick nod before shifting his attention back to my girlfriend and asking her if he could borrow her car to go out and get more alcohol. My girlfriend said that she was not giving the keys to her car to her intoxicated brother. Her brother pointed at his girlfriend, who was dancing on her own in the backyard, and said that she could drive because she only had 1 beer. My girlfriend asked her brother if he was referring to the young-looking girl who was twerking to a remix of My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. So I said that I would drive. And when I said that, my girlfriend and her brother seemed really surprised. I said I was willing to drive if the brother showed me the way. Well, my girlfriend then flat out asked me if I was attempting to impress her degenerate family. The answer was yes, but I said no. My girlfriend then sighed like she was pitying me and eventually gave me her car keys. So there I was, driving the brother, and he made me stop at several locations on our way to the liquor store. The first location was where we picked up his friend before going to the following location, which was where the herb supplier lived, if you know what I mean. The brother offered to share this with me if I promised to tell my girlfriend nothing about his side quest. Well, I didn't accept it and I made no promises. I was too stressed out about all the unplanned stops that we were making to even think about getting high and keeping secrets. The friend then directed me towards the nearest barbershop and got out. The brother promised me that we only had one more stop to make before going to the liquor store, and the final pre-liquor store location was where the brother's baby mama lived. The baby mama never answered the door when the brother came knocking, and I was relieved because it was obvious that no one was home, and I thought that meant that we could leave. But the brother continued knocking on the door and saying things to his baby mama, who he believed was pretending not to be home to piss him off or whatever. I didn't understand anything he was saying because he was speaking to his baby mama in another language, but he would turn to me from time to time and feel the need to tell me what was going through his mind at the moment. My girlfriend called to ask me where we were, and I said I would explain everything when I got back. Well, I eventually got back with the brother, who finally got the alcohol, and as soon as I saw my girlfriend again, I begged her to get us away from her family. Oh wow, this really does sound like a nightmare because my god, I think we've all been there to some degree. Here's the thing, if you have someone that you love and care about, and they really tell you like, listen, my family is messed up, let's not go there, then I think it would probably be a good idea to listen to her because she probably knows a lot more than you. It's also crazy to me that this guy literally agreed to drive this brother around a town that he's never been in. Seriously, from the sounds of it, this brother sounds like one of those people across the street who could get him taken out. Like, what was this guy thinking? That is so stupid. So yeah, this really was a big mess up, and hopefully this doesn't happen in the future because this is not a mistake that you want to make twice. Am I the jerk for asking my mom to pay to attend my wedding after she nearly blew me off and said that she couldn't afford it? Because right now I'm not sure if I'm making a mistake, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my mom chose to abandon her parental rights when I was 10 months old to be with a man that she met and moved states away. She came back into my life when I was 4 years old after they broke up and was in and out of my life my entire childhood. When she would come back into my life, she was extremely awful both emotionally and physically. My father was also not perfect. He was an alcoholic. I had been put into foster care a few times, and my mom never showed up to any of the court dates. When I was 14 years old, she found God and remarried an extremely hardcore religious man that she met at church. And needless to say, her husband has always hated me, told me that I couldn't live with them because I didn't follow the path of God, and they've never helped me with anything financially, and she never even paid child support. Well, fast forward to 2 years ago, and her husband have had 3 daughters, ages 12, 10, and 7 as of right now. And it's then that my mom asked me to buy her restaurant for $25,000. It started to get to the point where she was begging me, trying to tell me that it was a great business investment, that she had so many offers and wanted to keep it in the family. And she said I would make easily $100,000 a year. She didn't know her husband had texted me months earlier saying that their business was failing and he wanted me to help them turn the business around. So I told her I was sick of her only contacting me when she needed something. She then had my sisters to call me and leave me voicemails asking why I was ignoring them and wouldn't come visit. I got engaged in June of last year, and my fiance's family offered to put in $15,000 for the wedding. My dad matched that, and my fiance and I are putting in around $10,000. My fiance has a huge family, and I only have about 10 people on my dad's side. My mom found out about our wedding from Facebook and offered to fly out my aunts, her daughter, and both of my grandparents. They all live in Thailand, so I was really grateful to be able to have them there. I've always had a pretty good relationship with them and wouldn't be able to afford to pay for all of their flights here without her. I was ready to bury the hatchet just to have them attend, but my dad's family made it very clear that they didn't want to pay for her and her family. I then asked her if she could just pay for herself, her husband, and her family and she told me that she could only give me $1,000 because she has to pay for her kids' private school. Well, with catering, the bar, and rentals, everything ends up being about $250 a person. When I told her this, she said that I should expect that everything else would be paid off by gifts from the guests. Now, I don't want to seem ungrateful and selfish for telling my own mom and family that they can't come to my wedding because they won't give us any money, but I really did not want to have other people, especially my father, pay for her to be there when she's never helped me with anything in the past. So am I the jerk for telling her that she can't come unless she gives me more money? Because right now I'm honestly not sure what to do. Okay, to be completely honest, I don't even know why you're even allowing them to show up in the first place. Your mom sounds obnoxious and it sounds like she really is just not a good person. She was not there for you growing up and it seems like she's just not there now. So the fact that she's not willing to pony up like everybody else has, in my opinion, shows everything that you need to know. And in my opinion, that means that she shouldn't even be there, especially if she's not willing to pay what everybody else is. Am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend that she needs to clean more if she's not going to be getting a job anytime soon? Because right now she's saying that I'm being unreasonable, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My girlfriend and I have been together for 4 years and have been living together for around 2. She had a part-time job up until January or so, working 2 to 3 days per week, but she quit because she couldn't stand working there any longer. Now, I, on the other hand, work a full-time job. I have a full-time college schedule, even though all the school is online, but it still requires around 4 hours of work per week. Anyways, I don't mind being the provider, but I don't want some traditional wife who's only there to cook, clean, and look pretty. However, I feel I'm putting in 40 hours of work a week and 4+ hours per week into school. So the least that she could do is pick up around the house, namely do the laundries or do the dishes. I go to work from 9 to 5, then we go to the gym, and then I come home and I cook for us. Every time I try to express that our effort feels one-sided, she says that I'm being unfair and that she shouldn't be the only one doing these things around the house, which I agree with to an extent, but she does nothing worthwhile while I'm at work. She'll sleep, lay in bed on her phone, or play video games. I just don't know how to work something out. Her friends are also taking her side and say it's unfair for me to ask her to clean, but I really don't understand how that's unreasonable to ask. So truly, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I'm still incredibly frustrated. No, you're not the jerk. Honestly, this seems completely reasonable in my opinion, and I think she really could step up and like try to take care of the house more at least while she's not working. And also, let's be honest for a second. I kind of see it as a big red flag that she quit her job all because she didn't want to work there any longer, but she only worked there like what, 2 to 3 days per week? Like that's not really that bad. Like seriously, there's no reason to quit after that. Unless this job is like some kind of like actual nightmare that we're not aware of. Because for me, 2 to 3 days of work a week would not be that bad. I could do that no problem at a part-time schedule. Like, are you kidding me? So no, you're not the jerk for asking her to clean more, because in my opinion, that is the bare minimum that she should be required to do. My boyfriend left me out of a family trip that he was going on to Japan, as he literally told his family that he doesn't want me to go, while also claiming that I would ruin the trip because apparently I'm a pain to go on vacation with. And now after all of it's said and done, I feel so heartbroken that honestly it's making me question everything. And at this point, I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years, and this situation has been weighing heavily on me for the past 6 months. Back in August, my boyfriend's family started planning a trip to Japan. At first, I thought it was just a family trip, but then weeks later, I found out that one of his siblings' girlfriends was invited. It felt strange that only one girlfriend was included, but I tried to let it go since it seemed like a family holiday. 2 months later, I saw a text message from his mom. It mentioned me, and his mom said, "Are you sure she definitely is not coming to Japan?" And he responded by saying, "No, definitely not." And you know what? I had no idea she had even asked me about joining. Well, I was hurt and I confronted him about it, and his reaction was to be defensive. He said things like, "You're a pain to be around on the holidays. I don't want you there because you'd ruin the trip. And yeah, I told my family I didn't want you there." He also said both the other girlfriends were going, but I was the only one left out, and that he was glad about it. This then led to me completely breaking down, and I went nonverbal for hours, but he dismissed my feelings, calling me immature for being upset. Now, my reasons for it being wrong was that he lied to me, clearly lied to his family about asking me, and being completely isolated from his family and other girlfriends. Now, for context, the girlfriends have been in the family for 10+ years, and they all live in the same area and grew up there. Well, I eventually forgave him, even though I still felt terrible about it. But over the last 6 months, we've argued about it repeatedly. I just wanted him to acknowledge how wrong it was and to genuinely express regret or remorse. But instead, I've only received what felt like empty apologies, saying how sorry he was, but with no action or responsibility. This weekend, he went on the trip, and I've been struggling to control my emotions. The idea of him and his family and the girlfriends having dinner on holiday, making memories of a lifetime lifetime while not including me honestly feels unbearable. I feel like I'll always be left out and that I'll have to hear about it for the rest of my life. When I brought it up again, he apologized and said that he had wished he had handled it all differently, but he said he can't change it now and that he would say he wants me there but doesn't want to make me feel worse about not being there. But it doesn't feel like he regrets what happened or even wishes that I was there. I'm still haunted by the things he said back then, and I feel like I'm not valued in his life the same way I value him. I'm struggling with whether or not I'm overreacting. Am I wrong to still feel hurt about this situation? Should I just suck it up and get over it? Or is it reasonable to still be upset after all this time? I love him so much, and there's a lot of reasons I've pushed through these feelings because he is worth it, but I feel like he doesn't really care about my feelings and the effect this situation has had on me and my self-worth. What should I do? Okay, my God, what is going on right now? Why are you still with this guy? I don't normally say that, but seriously, this guy does not sound like a good boyfriend. He's clearly not in love with you. If anything, he's just stringing you along. He openly said, "You're a pain to be with on vacation. You're just gonna ruin it. I don't want you there." Like, what loving boyfriend in their right mind would say that to their girlfriend? Like, seriously, this guy sucks. If I was in your shoes, I would be immediately breaking up with him. Like, I know for a fact if my family was going on vacation, my girlfriend would be the first person I take on that trip, especially if I really care about her and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun for the two of us. If anything, he's treating you like an annoying best friend that he secretly hates instead of your girlfriend who he should be caring about. So truly, I am so sorry that you're dealing with this, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with an immature jerk like this who's claiming to be your boyfriend, because in my opinion, this guy is not that. He doesn't give a crap, he doesn't care about anything that you're doing, and worst of all, it doesn't sound like he has any regrets for not inviting you. It really seems like this is like some kind of half-hearted apology where he's saying it out of obligation instead of like actually meaning it. And in my opinion, you don't deserve that, and you definitely deserve a way better boyfriend than this guy, because from the sounds of it, it really does not seem like he likes you in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for continuing to post on Instagram after my boyfriend said it's starting to affect our relationship? Here's what happened. I'm a 26-year-old female and I've been dating my 27-year-old boyfriend for close to a year, but lately we've been having the same argument over my Instagram usage. It never used to be an issue, but recently he started saying it's affecting our relationship in ways that are bothering him more and more. I've always been into posting on Instagram, and it's just something that I enjoy. I like documenting little things like food when we go out, outfits I feel good in, or just moments I want to remember. It's not some influencer thing or anything like that, but I like having a creative outlet. He knew this from the start and never seemed to have a problem with it until recently. I haven't really changed my habits up until this point, but now he's saying it feels like Instagram is becoming a third person in the relationship. He says it's getting to the point where he feels like he can't enjoy a meal or go out without it turning into a mini photo shoot. I'll ask him to take a couple of pictures, and sometimes I want to try a few angles or poses, and I guess I can understand how that might feel like a chore. He's told me it takes him out of the moment and makes him feel like he's just behind the camera while I focus on getting content. He's also mentioned feeling annoyed when I spend time editing or writing captions instead of being fully present, which I don't even do when we're out. Another thing that came up is when I post photos of myself in more revealing outfits. I don't do it often, but there has been the occasional post with a tight-fitted dress or something that I would wear in the summer. I felt confident and I liked how I looked. Well, he told me it makes him uncomfortable and that he feels weird about the kind of attention these posts might attract. I've reassured him that I don't reply to DMs or engage in that kind of stuff, but he still says it bothers him and it makes him feel insecure. He's now saying it's starting to affect how he feels day to day. He says it makes him feel more distant from me, like I care more about what I'm posting than being in the moment together. He's not asking me to delete my account or anything like that, but he's clearly frustrated and says if things keep going the way they are, it's going to push us apart. I've been trying to understand his side, and I've made some effort to cut back a bit when we're spending time together, but at the same time, I feel like I shouldn't have to stop doing something that I enjoy just because he's uncomfortable with it. I don't post anything wild, I ignore all the direct messages, and I don't think I'm doing anything disrespectful. I've told him that if it ever feels like too much, he could just tell me and we can figure it out. But now I feel like he's expecting me to completely change how I use social media just to try and make him feel better. So am I the jerk for continuing to post even though it's clearly bothering him? Because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I think everybody sucks here, because on one hand, your boyfriend absolutely should not be policing your Instagram, but also it seems like you're not willing to make any kind of compromise. It seems like you're willing to say, oh, he's wrong, he doesn't know what he's talking about, while also saying in the same breath, but I'm never gonna change. And it's like, wait a second, there's like no middle ground that you might be able to come to. Like maybe if you're going on a date together, you don't sit there and take a bunch of pictures or something like that, and instead spend time together as a couple. Like for me personally, that absolutely could be a good compromise. So in my opinion, I think there needs to be a little bit more wiggle room from both of you, because I seriously think you're both acting immature, and it doesn't seem like either of you are trying to see the other person's point of view in the slightest. An entitled jerk chooses to use his phone on speakerphone while also loudly shouting in it while I'm trying to use the bathroom. So I got some petty revenge that he truly will never forget. Here's what happened. Okay, so I was at Walmart and I was sitting in a stall tending to my business when the bathroom door opened and a man talking on his phone entered the bathroom. And this guy was talking really loudly. Like it was seriously as if he was yelling into his phone, and he had the phone on speakerphone with the volume jacked all the way up. Now normally I really just don't mind or even care about this kind of scenario, but as the minutes dragged by and the conversation showed no signs of slowing down, I started getting really annoyed. 5 minutes later, when I finished my natural duties and I got out of the stall, this guy was still yelling into his phone. So I said to myself, fine, you want to be loud and obnoxious in public? Well, game on. I washed my hands and like any other guy, I turned the hand dryer on. Now the hand dryers at this store are super loud, and the one I was using was placed in a spot where it emitted a shrill, high-pitched sound if the user held their hands close enough to the nozzle, and it echoed off the walls. So I made sure to take an extra long time drying my hands, guaranteeing that not a drop of water remained on my hands. Well, the guy had left his stall and exited the bathroom before I finished, holding the phone to his ear. And sure, it was incredibly petty, I know, but for me, it was also super satisfying. Oh man, I love this for so many reasons, because seriously, I can't stand when people talk on speakerphone in public, let alone when they're yelling into their phone for everybody to hear. Like seriously, get some headphones or talk on the phone normally. There's no reason to drag everybody else into your stupid conversation. So good for you for getting some petty revenge, because this guy sounded like he absolutely deserved it. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my girlfriend after she proved to be completely incompatible with me and my life goals? Here's what happened. I'm a 21-year-old male and I was in a relationship with my ex for almost 2 years. Recently, I broke up with her and her friends are saying that I'm the jerk for breaking her heart. For context, we met through a mutual friend back when I was 19 years old, and in our country, we have to attend college for 2 years and then university for undergrad and postgrad. And back then, I was in college. We lived in different cities around 6 hours apart, and I fell for her at first glance, and I expressed that pretty quickly too. We then started dating, with the initial 6 months being long distance. Then she moved to my city for better opportunities at university, and I was over the moon. Her parents were financially comfortable, but still she was having trouble making ends meet. So I started covering her rent, groceries, and other things. I tried to fulfill her every wish. Now her ex, with whom she was in a relationship with for only 2 days, was the main problem in our relationship. When she moved here, she invited him in our hangout without even informing me first. But at the time, we sorted that out back then. When university selections were rolling out, I got selected for the top university in our country, and she didn't get any. Her only option was to attend community college or attend a private university, which was quite expensive. But when she didn't get selected, she ended up breaking up with me. But then she came back blaming those words on her mental state. After a while, she said that she can't move on from her ex, and so she wants to leave me. And when she said this, it really broke me, which then led to me starting the pick me dance. And somehow I managed to convince her to be with me. Things were going great, but I have severe anxiety as well as ADHD and PTSD. And when she failed her last exam, she actually blocked me, which caused me to have a panic attack. And this was so bad that I had to go to the emergency room. When she got in contact with me, I told her I was in the hospital, and her reaction was to say, okay, well, a lot of people go to the ER. That's nothing big. And even still, she blamed everything on her emotions and mental state. After moving out, she was constantly saying that I need to marry her and get her into a private university. But I would respond by saying, well, I can get you into a community college or maybe a cheaper university. But she always said, well, if you're not capable enough to fund my education and my dream lifestyle, why would I be with such a worthless guy? If you want to marry me, you have to get me into the university that I say, and you have to cover all the expenses. So after that fiasco, I broke up with her. And now her friends are saying I broke her heart and her dreams. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I'm still incredibly confused. Oh my gosh, your ex-girlfriend sounds insane. And in my opinion, she should stay your ex-girlfriend. First of all, she does not sound loyal at all, because when her life was going sideways, she's like, okay, this is your fault and I'm leaving. While also basically giving you an ultimatum, essentially stating that you need to get her into the university that she wants to go to. And that, in my opinion, is just insane. Like seriously, that's some weird behavior. So it really begs the question, like, do you really want to be with someone like that? Because from the sounds of it, this does not sound like a sane person. It doesn't sound like someone who would ever love you long-term like a wife should. And if anything, it sounds like someone who would dump you to the curb at the first sign of conflict. So honestly, who cares what her friends think? If her heart's broken and her dreams are shattered, and she's blaming that solely on you, then they were clearly not dreams to begin with. If anything, it was just her own delusional manipulation that clearly fell apart. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. This lady sounds crazy and you could do way better than her, because in my opinion, she is only gonna drag you down. An entitled jerk that I play soccer with gets me banned from the organized events we have on a weekly basis, all because I scored on him twice in a game. So now I'm concocting my own petty revenge by literally organizing against them through an application that I'm developing, and I'm truly hoping that this hits them where it hurts. Here's what happened. So I usually play soccer in a weekly matchmaking style game organized by a local team at the nearest field. The format is simple. Anyone can join even if you don't know the other players. It's perfect for someone like me since I don't have many friends who are into soccer, and organizing a match on my own isn't really an option. That field is my favorite, and unfortunately there are no other decent ones nearby, as the other ones are just way too far away. During my last match, I scored 2 goals against a goalkeeper who apparently just didn't take it well. This same goalkeeper, who also happens to be a friend of the event organizer, reported me for allegedly saying something negative about the organizer, which is completely false. I didn't even interact with either of them during the match. Well, a few days later, the organizer called me and told me that I was banned from the event. Now, I tried to explain the situation, but he wasn't interested in hearing my side. I spoke to the field owner, someone I know really well, who respects me for my fair play, but he told me there was nothing he could do, as he isn't the one organizing the event. But now, here's where things might get interesting. For months, my co-founder and I have been developing an app for soccer fields. It allows players to join matchmaking games and play with friends more easily. I've already spoken with a field owner, and he's agreed to use our platform once it launches, which is along with other field managers. That means we'll have access to a wide base of users, including the kind of players who attend these kinds of matches. So, given that, I'll soon have a degree of control over how matchmaking happens, and I think this might be my way of getting some interesting revenge. Keep in mind, I have the full names and phone numbers of both the organizer and the goalkeeper. I considered banning them from the app, but that feels like it's just not enough. And so at this point, I'm considering my options, because this really could be the best revenge I could possibly come up with. Oh man, the fact that you have some kind of way of affecting their entire organization, in my opinion, is really funny, especially if this application takes off and people really use it. Like, you could easily start messing with them in a way that they have no control over, especially since they banned you for illegitimate reasons. Like, why should you get banned all because that guy has sour grapes because you scored on him? It's honestly unfair, and I don't blame you for being pissed off. And hopefully you get your revenge in some kind of way, because these people absolutely deserve it. Would I be the jerk for excluding a family that has a badly behaved autistic child who is quite literally violent towards other neighborhood kids during the pool party? Because right now I'm honestly not sure what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I host a monthly pool party and barbecue for the neighborhood families in my area. I buy about $200 in steaks, hot dogs, and drinks, book the community party room, and send out invites and reminders. And this has become a great way for the adults to connect and catch up while all the kids swim and play. Unfortunately, one of the neighborhood boys doesn't behave appropriately. He splashes kids in the face when they ask him not to, pushes kids into the pool, calls them names, growls at kids when they win a game, doesn't follow the rules of games, and so much more. It's unpleasant for the other kids, and he makes the younger ones cry. His mom yells and screams to take him home, but she doesn't, and so he continues misbehaving. While I'm not well informed on autism, however, my stance is that the parents are responsible for ensuring their kids behave appropriately or removing them altogether. Instead, other parents have to get involved to yell at the kid to leave theirs alone or comfort their crying child. Well, after the last party, 2 of the kids asked me not to invite that boy again because apparently he ruined the day for them. And you know what? I agree with them. And I believe that as part of my responsibility of hosting is to create a guest list of people who add positivity to the event. Well, my husband disagrees, because for starters, he thinks that I should first bring up the issues to the boy's parents and give them one more chance, while also saying that we can't exclude them since it is a community pool, not to mention that he's also just conflict avoidant and doesn't want to ruin relations with the neighbors. So seriously, what do you think? Would I be the jerk if I didn't want to bring these people to our pool party anymore? Because right now I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all, and in my opinion, this should absolutely be something that is easily taken care of. They should be banned from any further interactions you have until those parents take care of the kids, especially around a pool. Like, you don't mess around with any kind of water and kids, because seriously, someone's gonna drown. Like, that is literally what's gonna happen, and that is not okay. And And just because he has autism doesn't mean he gets a free pass to be pushing kids into the pool. That needs to be corrected by the mom, and the fact that she's not taking care of it is absolutely a red flag. So yeah, if I was in your shoes, I would have banned that kid and his family yesterday and told him that he is straight up not welcome at any of our get-togethers because he's been violent towards other kids. Because that kind of behavior, in my opinion, is completely unacceptable. Am I the jerk for canceling several plans after a work friend lied about being confused over which shift that she was covering? Here's what happened. Okay, so here's the problem. Both me and the friend are over 35 years old and we work for a major airline. It's also important to note that I'm a gay man. Sometimes when our schedules are published, we will agree to trade our trips around amongst friends. I messaged this friend and offered her a trip with a nice layover, and she agreed that she would take it. 2 days later, when trading became available, I sent her the trip as soon as the system opened and followed up via text messaging just to let her know to pick it up. Well, she attempts to pick it up and then makes it clear that she can't do it because she was awarded a trade with a different system that was for a trip that, conveniently enough, she had really wanted but wasn't able to outright hold. And sure, I know this is complex, but to further explain, this would have been something that she would have done consciously for it to even happen in the first place. So I point out that she could trade out of the trip and could then pick up the trip that she committed to from me, but she refuses. Then she adds that she really wants this trip and assumed that I had been referring to a different trip on my schedule. Now, I did push back and said that she'd agreed to take this trip and that in the future, if we agree on something like this, I would expect her to follow through. I look back at our text messages and there was no way that she could have been confused because she confirmed the trip date in our text conversation, and I so dislike being gaslit. Well, we were supposed to have dinner later that week, which I had intended on going through with and having a discussion with her about this, but I ended up being filled with anxiety that day and I had to cancel a few hours prior, which I did feel badly about just because I didn't want to waste her evening. During this time, I've also been experiencing some serious GI issues for months, which ended up with a visit to the emergency room a few weeks back. We had made plans to go on a trip, but given this health issue and her dishonesty, I made clear several weeks out that I would likely be unable to go, and today I confirm my unavailability. She's since been very distant, and when I mentioned being unable to go the first time, she said to me, well, I haven't even looked to see if I've got the days off, as if she doesn't even care that we had plans or that I had booked a hotel using my free night award to do so and asking nothing from her in return. I have been a good friend to this person, supporting them through a roommate situation that she was very upset about, answering long-winded text messages voicing her frustration, basically being her emotional support. I've even driven this person around to view different neighborhoods, going as far as looking into the place they moved into and assisting them into getting a little bit off of their rent. So with all that in consideration, am I the jerk for withdrawing given this kind of behavior on her end? Because seriously, I don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I don't blame you for a second for taking a step back because this kind of behavior is super obnoxious. Seriously, let's think about it for a second. It really seems like they're taking advantage of you, and that, in my opinion, is not fair. It sucks that they're literally just taking for granted all of your options for them, as well as all of your time and attention towards their needs, while also refusing to do the same towards you. Like, what is that about? That really sucks. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. She's pretending not to know what's going on as some kind of cover-up to get away with her poor behavior. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, and I think you're completely justified to distance yourself from this friend, because clearly they do not value your friendship in the same way that you do. And that is not fair for you in the slightest. Today, I realized that my nail salon has been scamming me out of so much money, as they are constantly changing the price. So I decided to get some revenge by quite literally leading a revolt by telling everybody else around me how much I was being charged, causing all the other customers to realize that they were getting scammed as well. Here's what happened. Okay, so I got my nails done this morning at the same nail salon I've been going to for almost 2 years. It has well over 1,000 great reviews online, and they've always done amazing work. They don't post their prices anywhere, but I've always paid about $50. However, it hasn't been consistent, as in sometimes I would be asked to pay $50 and other times later pay $40. When I asked about the price, usually when it was $50, they would say I got a nice discount at $40 and that the standard was $50. The $10 never bothered me, so I never made a fuss about it, and I kind of chalked it up to more inexperienced front desk workers not tracking well to the established price. I also have gotten into the habit of asking the price before they start, but I forgot to ask this time because I was just getting my normal nails done. Well, today as I finished up my appointment, the front desk told me that it was $70. I was surprised because I got them done last month and I'm pretty sure it was only $40. The lady said that the prices went up, which I felt should have been stated somewhere, but I know that businesses are nervous about the economy, so I understood a hike. I paid my bill and internally decided to find a new salon, not because they did anything wrong, but paying $70 for nails isn't worth it for me, while there are cheaper places around. After I paid, I realized I left something at my seat. I had been quietly chatting with the lady sitting next to me during our appointments, and we were getting the exact same service in different colors. As I went to grab my bag, I couldn't help making a quiet comment to her that $70 for our nails is crazy. Yes, this was a complaint, but also I wanted to warn her about what to expect. She immediately got agitated and asked her nail tech how it could be this much, because she never paid more than $30 for the service. She then looked like she was going to cry and said she didn't have $70 for the service today. Her nail tech quickly tried to do damage control and said that since she was such a loyal customer, her price would be $30. This didn't really calm her down though, because she asked how long I'd been going there, and I said 2 years, and she said she'd been coming here for less than a year. At this point, other customers at the busy salon started paying attention to what was going on, and about 8 other people started sharing what they paid for their nails, and it ranged from $30 to $70. At that point, I had my bag and no reason to stay, but as I left, almost the whole salon was getting heated, with everyone realizing that they actually don't have a set price for their services and just charge as much as they can to get out of you. I will definitely be leaving a review, and something really tells me that the other people definitely will be leaving one as well. Oh man, this is seriously so messed up, it's not even funny. These people have literally been scamming you for what, 2 years now? So do they just literally make up the prices as they go, and they say, okay, this would be a good price, and just say, yep, this is what you're paying today? Like seriously, that is super sketchy. So good for you for making a fuss about this, because these people, in my opinion, absolutely deserve it. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not covering my friend's meal when she literally ordered way more than everybody else? Because now she's saying that I embarrassed her in front of all of our friends, and at this point, I'm pretty pissed off and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so me and a group of friends went out to eat after our midterm. It was a casual place where you pay at the end, and everyone was ordering whatever they wanted. I got something small as usual because I'm trying to save some cash. So I had a water and a basic pasta that was on special. A few others did the same, but one of my friends ordered an appetizer, a big entree, and a dessert, and she got a big drink too. Now, no judgment, she can do whatever she wants, but it definitely added up. When the check came, she suddenly says, let's split it evenly. And I was like, what? I thought we were all paying for what we ordered. She said it would be easier and that it's what we always do, which is not true, by the way. I told her I only brought enough for what I ate plus a tip, but she just rolled her eyes and said it's not that deep and that I'm being cheap over a few bucks. But it wasn't a few bucks. It would have almost doubled what I was planning to spend. Well, I didn't budge and I paid for only my stuff, whereas my other friends didn't care and split the bill evenly. Now, as a result, she's being super passive and told our other friend that I embarrassed her in front of everyone and that I made her look greedy, but like she assumed we'd cover part of her extra food without even asking. So am I the jerk in this scenario? Because right now I'm still pretty pissed off. No, you're not the jerk at all. This lady's an idiot. She literally ordered way more food than everyone else, and then she has the audacity to be like, oh, let's split the bill. And this is not because she wants to share the cost, mind you. She's only doing this because she doesn't want to pay for all of the stuff that she got, and instead wants to spread it around so everybody else picks it up. And that is so dishonest. Like seriously, that is so messed up. You don't deserve that. So no, you're not the jerk for denying that request, because in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for getting an autistic kid and his family kicked off the flight after this 13-year-old kid literally attacked me on the plane? Here's what happened. I'm a 26-year-old male and I recently went on a vacation with my wife. Now for some context, we had just gone on a 1-week vacation, and on our flight back, it got canceled. This was a huge airport. All the flights were canceled, and there was a 24-hour wait for any hotel within a 2-hour drive. So we spent the first night at the airport, then got a hotel for the second night. When we came back for our rescheduled flight, it was delayed for a few hours, so we were both on edge. While waiting at our gate, I noticed a kid around 13 years of age kicking and screaming. At one point, he threw his phone at someone sitting next to him really hard, and that person eventually got up and left. After we boarded our flight, I noticed the kid was 2 rows in front of us, and before we even took off, he was already screaming and punching. We were in the second to last row, and the people behind us offered to switch seats with the kid and his family, and at that point, I was already thinking about how long this flight would be. Well, they switched, and the kid was now right behind me. Before we even took off again, he threw a bunch of popcorn over his seat, all over me and my seat. He was still screaming, so you know what? I called over a flight attendant. She helped me clean up, and not even 2 minutes later, the kid grabbed my hair and pulled it back really hard. Now, I'm 6'4", so my head was over over the chair. So I immediately yanked the kid's hand off of my head really hard. At this point, the mom, who hadn't said anything yet, started yelling at me to not touch her kid. A flight attendant came over due to the noise, and the mom started screaming about how I attacked her kid and that she wanted me off the plane. So I finally tell my side of the story, and a few passengers back me up. I then asked for the kid and his family to be kicked off the plane. Now, during this entire thing, my wife was giving me a look of pure hatred, but I didn't care and I was persistent about having the family removed. The mom was cursing me out, and the kid was still kicking my seat and screaming. After some time, they kicked the family off, and we took the flight in peace. My wife was still looking at me with hatred before saying I was a jerk for having that family kicked off and that I should have just sucked it up. After that, she hasn't really talked to me since, and it has been 3 days ever since then. So seriously, am I the jerk for getting an autistic kid and his family kicked off a flight after this kid literally attacked me while I was sitting down? What should I do? Oh no, there's no way you're the jerk here. There is never a good excuse for anybody to be attacking anyone. And the fact that the mom tried to shift this onto you somehow, in my opinion, is a giant red flag. And that is not something I would ever take lightly. So no, I think you did the right thing by kicking them off, because they truly would have made your life a living nightmare. Am I the jerk for spending money saved up for an engagement ring on a tattoo? Because right now I'm being told that I'm wasting it away, and at this point I'm not sure what to do. Here's what happened. So a bit more than a month ago, my now ex broke up with me out of the blue. I don't want to go into the details of the relationship or the breakup, but we had been talking about marriage before the breakup. We had settled on wedding bands and an engagement ring, and I am by no means well off and arguably live paycheck to paycheck, but I managed to always pay my bills, save money, and budget money for fun. And we're talking stuff like concerts, fancy dinners, trips to Renaissance festivals, conventions, rallies, random events, etc. While still doing all of this, I managed to put aside several thousands of dollars for the engagement ring that she wanted. Well, after the breakup, I decided to spend that money on myself. I bought myself my favorite bourbon, a case of my favorite cigars, and finally finished a large tattoo sleeve that I've been working on for about 2 years now. Well, the issues came when I started casually seeing a young woman who we will call Diana. I knew Diana before I met my ex, but we were more acquaintances than anything else just due to life stuff. We knew enough about each other that she was familiar with the fact that I'm not one to just casually throw money around. Since this money wasn't budgeted for anything, and let's be honest, I'm heartbroken, I've been more willing to just say screw it and spend the money. So I met up with her for dinner and drinks, and during the drinks part of the evening, she noticed my fresh ink and jokingly asked if I had gotten promoted or hit the lottery. When I explained to her where this money had come from, she got real serious and told me that spending it like that was disrespectful, that I had saved that money for something beautiful, and by wasting it, it proves that I never cared about my ex. She then ended up leaving me at the bar because she was so upset with me. Now, maybe it's the fantastic cocktails blurring my judgment, but am I the jerk for spending my money? Because right now, I'm incredibly confused. No, you are not the jerk. This is completely idiotic. I can't believe she would say that to you. For starters, you hit the nail on the head. This is literally your money. You don't owe that to anybody. If anyone's wasting this money away, it's your ex. You were saving that up for an engagement ring and she broke your heart. So in my opinion, I think you're well within your right to spend that money however you want. And anything this lady says, in my opinion, is completely idiotic. Am I the jerk for not giving my friend one of my freebies that I got for my skincare order? Because she literally just walked up and tried to take it, and I ended up having to shut her down. Here's what happened. So I ordered a bunch of stuff during a skincare sale, and they were doing this promo where if you spent over a certain amount, they gave you 3 mystery gifts. I didn't know what they were going to be, but I was excited because I've been broke and haven't really treated myself in a while. When the box came, I opened it with my friend there, and the gifts were actually kind of nice. A lip mask, a jade roller, and this little overnight cream that I've been wanting to try. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And then I set it aside with the rest of my stuff. Then my friend just casually picks up the lip mask and says, oh, this is so nice. Thanks for saving this for me. When she said this, I laughed because I thought she was joking, but she was literally putting it in her purse. I said to her, wait, no, I didn't say you could have that. And she says to me, okay, chill, it's just a freebie. So I told her, yeah, it was free, but it still came from my order, and I was kind of looking forward to using it. She then got all weird and said I was being stingy, and that if you didn't pay for it, then it's not a real gift. I didn't even know how to respond to that. I'm not mad, but I just feel kind of awkward now, and I feel like maybe I overreacted about something small, but also it was mine. So seriously, am I the jerk? Because right now I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. This is so weird. What kind of friend would go up to your package and be like, oh, thanks for the freebie, I'm gonna take this now? It's like, no, that's not how this works. You go up to them and you say, hey, can I have this? Is that okay? Or something along those lines. You don't just take it and say, thanks a lot, appreciate it, gotta go. Because then it's not a freebie, that's just you stealing from your friend. So no, you're not the jerk because this kind of behavior is super entitled. Today, I messed up by believing a work prank on April 1st, which literally resulted in me embarrassing myself in front of everybody. Here's what happened. Okay, so at work, my boss sent out an all-staff email saying that the company was implementing a 4-day workweek experiment starting next month. We all get Fridays off with full pay as long as productivity remained high, and I nearly lost my mind with excitement. I even replied by saying, "This is amazing. You're the best boss ever." And unfortunately, I did this before reading the rest of the email, where he mentioned how this was part of a global initiative called April Fools for better work-life balance. Realizing my mistake, I tried to unsend the email, but it was way too late. People were already reacting with laughing emojis in the company group chat. To make it worse, my boss personally replied by saying, "Glad to see you're passionate about work-life balance. Unfortunately, your excitement is also part of the experiment how easily employees fall for corporate jokes." But that's not even the worst part about it. Feeling like a fool, I went home and I told my roommate about it, and he tried to comfort me by saying, "Hey, at least you weren't like my friend who fell for that fake celebrity passing hoax today." And that's when I made mess up number 2, where I immediately pulled out my phone and I was like, "Wait, who died?" And that's when my roommate stared at me and said, "Dude, that was the prank." So yeah, my entire day was one long chain of getting clowned on. So I guess the moral of the story is that you need to triple check everything on April 1st, or just literally trust no one, which would have been way better than what I did. Oh man, that seems really toxic, especially from your boss. For him to kick you while you're down like that is so messed up. So seriously, I wouldn't feel too bad about that. I think you just have an awful boss, because the way he did this was incredibly rude. Am I the jerk for not letting my roommate's boyfriend use my car, even though it made him miss a job interview that apparently was super important to him? Because right now they're blaming me for ruining his future, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I share an apartment with my roommate who we will call Jess. We generally get along okay, but she started dating this guy who we will call Kyle a few months ago, and he's been around constantly. He doesn't live here officially, but he's here 5 to 6 nights a week. He eats our food, he uses our stuff, and never really contributes to anything. It is annoying, but I tolerate it. And I do this so that I can keep the peace. Now, I own a car which I use for work, errands, and occasional weekend trips, whereas Jess doesn't have a car, and neither does Kyle. Last week, Kyle asked me very last minute if he could borrow my car to drive to a job interview, so I asked a few questions. Where it was, how far away, how long he needed it, and it turns out that he needed it during a time that I'd already told Jess I had a doctor's appointment across town. I said to him, "I'm sorry, but I need it, and I can't change my appointment." Well, when I said that, he got super pissed off and said that I was being selfish for ruining his best shot at a better life. Jess even backed him up by saying that I could Uber to the doctor's office just this one time because his interview was more important than my checkup. Well, I said no. I'm not comfortable lending my car to someone I barely know, especially not for a time I already need it. I don't owe him that. Well, they both sulked and gave me the cold shoulder for days. And apparently Kyle missed the interview because he couldn't find a ride, and now he's blaming me for ruining his future. I feel a little bad because I could have changed my appointment if I really wanted to, but also it's my car, my schedule, and I don't think that I should have to upend my plans for someone who doesn't even live here. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I don't know what to do. No, you are not the jerk at all. These people are idiots. So you mean to tell me that they want you to get an Uber when they themselves could have done that and gotten to the interview no problem? Like, is this serious right now? That is so backwards. Why not respect the original poster's wishes and get an Uber yourself, or call a taxi or something, instead of trying to hijack their car and being like, "Oh, I need this right now, thanks." Like, that would make way more sense than trying to guilt trip the original poster and being like, "Oh, you're ruining my future. You're taking away my one shot at a better life." And it's like, buddy, if this is your only chance at a better life, then you probably don't have that good of a life to begin with. So no, you're definitely not the jerk. If I was in your shoes, I would have done the same thing, because these people sound incredibly obnoxious. Am I the jerk for not paying my friend back for something that I never asked for? Because now, after she gave me something that I thought was a gift, she's now demanding that I pay her back for it, even though I didn't want it. And at this point, I'm honestly super frustrated and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened like a week ago and it is still incredibly awkward. My friend and I were at the mall just walking around and we stopped by one of those little skincare booths. The lady was doing free hand scrubs or whatever, and I was just standing there letting her try it on me because it smelled nice. My friend, on the other hand, was super into it and was asking a million questions. I said I wasn't buying anything and even stepped away a little bit, but while I was looking at a display, the friend ended up buying 2 of the scrubs, and they were like $35 each. So I thought to myself, cool, whatever. But then, as we were leaving, she handed me one of them and was like, "Here you go, I got one for you as well." I literally said to her, "Wait, what? Why?" And she just shrugged and went, "I know you liked it. it's no big deal. I said thanks, but also told her that she didn't have to do that. Now, fast forward to yesterday, and she texted me and was like, hey, can you send me $35 for that scrub when you get the chance? And when I saw that, I was so confused. I said to her, I thought you were just treating me with a gift. And she said to me, well, I didn't think I'd have to pay for both of them. I assumed that you would send me money later on. And I'm just thinking to myself, what are you talking about? I didn't ask for any of that. I didn't agree to it. And she even literally said it's no big deal. I told her that I'm not paying for something I didn't want in the first place. And now she's acting like I'm taking advantage of her and says that she wouldn't have bought it if she knew I wouldn't pay her back. So now I really feel weird. I didn't want it and I didn't ask for it, but I also don't want to seem ungrateful. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, your friend is so stupid. Like, you literally did not even ask for any of this stupid product. You stepped away and you were not nearly as enthusiastic about it as she was. So for her to turn around and be like, I need that $35, please. That, in my opinion, is so stupid it's not even funny. So no, of course you're not the jerk here. This lady's an idiot for buying something for you that you clearly didn't want, and that, in my opinion, is something she's gonna have to deal with and not you. My ex-boyfriend keeps blowing up my phone after he did a hurtful April Fool's joke that caused me to break up with him all of a sudden, and now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 24-year-old female, and I've been with my 27-year-old boyfriend for just over a year now. He has never been the pranking type, and we have explicitly discussed that I do not enjoy pranks or surprises. Occasionally, he will do like a little jump out from around a corner to spook me, and I usually playfully slap his arm and he laughs at me, and that's that. So this situation just completely came out of left field. Yesterday, he told me that he had something serious to discuss with me. So we sat down and he genuinely looked like he was on the verge of tears. Now for reference, this man rarely cries. So already I was holding and kissing his hand, telling him that it was okay. He shakily let out that he cheated on me with his best friend's girlfriend and that she is pregnant. When he said that, my heart stopped. Like, I think I genuinely had a panic attack. I started tearing up and I was trying not to puke. He just sat there watching me, looking all emotional and apologizing over and over again. Now, I had been cheated on before, which he was very aware of because we have had extensive conversations about some of my trust issues that we had been working through together. And this played on all of my worst fears. Once I could speak, I told him to leave and he did. Once I calmed down a bit, I called his best friend and asked if he knew about the affair and the baby. I figured he did. I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't still in the dark because he deserved to know. He replied by saying, oh my god, he didn't actually do this to you, did he? I told him not to, that this was such a bad idea. Now, I thought he was talking about the fact that my boyfriend knocked up his girlfriend, and so I said to him, you knew in advance that they were spending quality time together and told him not to do that because it would hurt me? He then broke the news that the whole thing was a prank. There was no affair and there was no baby. And at this point, I felt numb. I just laid there and contemplated our relationship. I couldn't believe that he would think to hurt me as an attempt at a joke. And honestly, I still can't. I didn't contact him at all, and he didn't contact me. I was waiting for him to show up and tell me it was all a prank, but he never did, all the way until about 6 o'clock at night. He then called me and told me to visit my backyard. And when I went out there, he had set up the table and made it look really pretty. He had takeout Italian food waiting for me and a sign that said April Fool's in the back. For a second, I was relieved that he did something so sweet and found myself clinging to it, but I still felt really hurt. He then grinned and walked up to me, kissing me and saying he couldn't believe I fell for it and that he thought I would know it was a prank. Well, I just cut to the chase and I broke up with him. The whole day was just emotional whiplash and I felt toyed with. I said that I didn't know if I could be in a relationship with someone who could lie to my face like that and still somehow think that it was funny. He then said that it was funny and that he was sorry that I didn't get it. I have just been so overwhelmed and emotional over this, and I just want to know if I am overreacting or not. He has never done something like this before, but I just do not know if I can recover from it. It's also important to know that at this point, he has left a total of 37 voicemails and probably hundreds of messages, and the number is only increasing. And at this point, I need him to stop. He won't listen to me when I say I need space from him, and I really just don't want to block him or make this messier than it needs to be because we share a friend group. I don't want to be the reason people pick sides and things fall apart. What should I do? Okay, in my opinion, this guy is the scum of the earth and he absolutely deserves to be publicly shamed for this. And I really mean that. This is such an awful thing to do to somebody. There is no good excuse. I don't care what kind of relationship you have. Saying that you cheated on somebody and you got a girl pregnant is never a good idea. Like, that is such an awful thing to do to somebody, and he honestly does not deserve to be in a relationship. And the fact that he's trying to be like, well, this is funny, but you just don't get it, so whatever. Not to mention the 37 voicemails and the hundreds of messages. Like, this guy is clearly out of his mind. He's the same same kind of person who would shove a wedding cake in your face and humiliate you in front of your entire family. Like, you do not need that crap for a second. So yeah, this guy absolutely is a piece of garbage, and I don't blame you for breaking up with him. And if your friend group suffers because of this, then good. In my opinion, I would not want to be friends with anybody who takes his side, because what he did to you is unbelievably toxic. An entitled Karen demanded that I give my hoodie over to her simply because the design on it was scaring her son. But when I said no, this entitled Karen lost her mind, as she literally started to grab at my hoodie while also tried to pull my hair in a fit of rage, forcing me to shut her down in a way that I don't think she'll ever forget. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a teenager from Australia, and so far, life's been going really well. I usually help my dad with his business, and I get paid for it. With that money, I decided to buy a hoodie related to my favorite show. It took me a week to arrive, and I absolutely loved it. I don't wear it too much, but it's definitely my favorite hoodie. Anyways, just a few days ago, I was at a shopping center with my mom and my sister. My mom and sister went off to do some shopping while I stayed behind to grab food for them, and this is where the story starts. I was waiting for my order at a Mexican restaurant when I felt someone tap me on the back. I then turn around and I see the entitled Karen of this story, who's in her 30s with her son, who looked to be about 11 years old. Now, the boy looked kind of embarrassed and worried, but I couldn't tell for sure. This Karen then started talking to me about my hoodie. She said her son was scared of it, but when I looked at him, he didn't really seem scared at all. In fact, he looked fine. So I responded by saying, okay, sure, I'll take it off. But she didn't just want me to remove it. She actually asked me to give it to her because her husband is a businessman, which for some reason she thought made her entitled to my hoodie. Well, I looked at her and I just told her straight up no. And that's when she started acting like I owed her the world. Now, for context, I paid $130 for the hoodie, which is almost the same amount my dad pays me for helping out with his business each week. I was getting a bit frustrated, especially since people were starting to notice what was happening, and things started getting really awkward. She then started getting verbally awful towards me, calling me a racist and saying stuff about my height and my glasses. She even tried to physically grab my hair while I was getting my food, and that's when I just really started to lose it. Now, I don't like being rude to strangers, so I try to stay humble and respectful, but this woman made me really uncomfortable. So instead of calmly telling her to stop, I made the mistake of saying some things that I really do regret, and that just set her off even more, and she started trying to grab my hoodie again. At this point, security had to get involved, and honestly, it was so insane. So the moral of the story is that just because your husband owns something doesn't mean you're automatically entitled to everything around you, because this Karen was incredibly entitled. Oh man, I've run into people like this before, where they literally try to police what people can and can't wear instead of turning away and looking the opposite direction. And worst of all, she was trying to use her son as the reason why she didn't like the hoodie. It's like, dude, what are you doing? That is so weird. So yeah, she was completely out of line for trying to make you like change your hoodie, and in my opinion, I think you did the right thing by telling her off. Even though you might have said some stuff that was probably very mean, I think at the end of the day, she got the picture that you are not to be messed with, and that is way better than her trying to boss you around about something that you literally should not have to change. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled sister kept my nephews from being at my birthday party for 2 years running, literally just to spite our parents. And it's honestly one of many reasons why I decided to go no contact with her. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my sister was evicted from the family property in late 2023. That year and the year after that, she kept my nephews away during my birthday just because she wanted to spite our parents. And just to be clear, my birthday is in May, so it was long before she got her eviction notice. For my birthday that year, we were preparing to have lots of pizzas and other stuff for my nephews to enjoy. And then we found out last minute that my sister was taking them elsewhere that day. A few weeks earlier, my sister and mother got into a fight, and I can't remember what it was about, but it might have been because my sister was taking advantage of me by not paying her half of the power bills that we shared. My mother fought with her about that several times. My sister still owes me $800 in unpaid power bills, and if you look at my other posts about my sister, you can see what kind of terrible person she is. So it's no surprise that she's a creature of spite. It was only days before my 2023 birthday that we found out that my sister was taking her kids out. She also took them to a certain popular family fun restaurant with games for both kids and adults. And she did this just so they would have much more fun on that day than hanging out with me. My birthday then ended up awkwardly just being my parents and I, just sitting at a table with gifts, pizza, and cake. Everyone in the family was upset when they found out, and my sister just didn't care. She did it all to spite our parents, and especially our mother. The following year, she did pretty much the same thing, but worse, by forbidding my nephews to come over to visit, and instead kept them in a hot, cramped apartment that she was sharing with a friend. When my nephews realized what she did the first time around, they were kind of torn, because on one hand, they missed my birthday, but on the other, they got a great day out partying with their mother. But on the second time around, they were genuinely angry with her, especially my middle nephew, and he let her have it for doing that. After keeping my nephews away the first time, my sister noticed I wasn't happy with her for what she did, so she told she was going to take me out to celebrate another day to make up for it. She even promised that this would happen, but guess what? It never did. Every one of her birthdays right up to 2023, we took her out on our dimes to celebrate. On her birthday of 2022, we took her to a fancy steakhouse and she loved it. On other years, we took her to gourmet pizza restaurants and she loved that as well. Even her 2024 birthday, after I had gone no contact with her, our parents still took her out to celebrate. But no, she couldn't be that kind on other people's birthdays, except for her piece of garbage boyfriend that passed away in 2023 because of an accident. In 2022, she convinced me to drive all the way to the coast to celebrate his birthday at a restaurant chain that we actually have locally. I mean, I had to drive over 100 miles in the middle of the night. I have never known the same level of courtesy from my sister that I gave to her on just about anything. She tormented me when we were kids, and as an adult, she's an entitled, narcissistic hypocrite. The only time she took me out for my birthday was when she took me to a place for kids. I ended up pretending to have a good time and spent a bunch of my own money on the claw machine games. The go-karts they had there were not only slow, but everyone else laughed at and drove past me because I was the heaviest person in the group, literally by about 50 pounds. And the carts were so underpowered that they just slowed to a crawl no matter which one I drove. And then when it was my time to leave, my sister sent me into the big tube structure to get my nephews because they wouldn't come out. I was the second tallest person there and the heaviest. And it's like, wait a second, none of them could have gone in there instead of me? And all three of my nephews had rancid gas, and they farted up that play place to the point where my eyes were watering. So imagine crawling through a tube that smells like rotten eggs. They kept moving around and I had to hunt them down one by one and make them get out and go to their mom. And then it turns out I lost my cell phone in there and I only noticed after we left. And of course we had to go back and get it, and I had to crawl right back in that eye-watering stank only to find that it wasn't even there and had somehow fell outside the play place. My sister openly found the whole situation hilarious for years. She would laugh at me if I had to crawl through a sewer. My sister didn't finally get an inkling to how bad she messed up until after my birthday in 2024, when she openly forbid my nephews from coming to visit because my middle nephew went off on her about it, and he apologized to me on the day I went to pick up my eldest nephew to take him to his junior prom. My sister also walked up to my window with her old "please feel sorry for me" face and said to me, "I'm sorry I kept the boys away from your birthday." But you know what? I barely responded to her, and when she realized that she was not getting sympathy from me, she just trudged off. She gets her sons 1 to 2 weekends a month, and the day of my eldest nephew's junior prom just happened to fall on a day that she had him. But I'll save that story for another post. Thankfully, my sister did not have the decision-making power she thought she did. She tried to outright forbid my nephews from visiting, but her ex has majority custody, and he lets them come to visit. And recently, we visited him. We get along with him so well, and he is a great dad. When my sister found out my nephews were visiting, she had a tantrum, but now she seems resigned to the fact that she can't do anything about it. Man, I'm so sorry the original poster's going through that. Seriously, this is so frustrating. Here you are just trying to have like a normal family relationship with people, and your sister is acting like a complete moron. They're denying you access to your nephews and just trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna keep them away. Literally just out of spite for no good reason. So yeah, good for you for going no contact, and I honestly don't blame you, because the way your sister acts is honestly so uncalled for. Today, I watched a superhero in action as one of our loyal customers at our costume shop dressed up as Captain America and recovered a woman's phone that she had lost earlier in the day. And it's honestly the most heartwarming thing I've ever seen in my life. Here's what happened. I used to work retail at a mom and pop costume store. We had this family who were regular customers and would come in every year and pick out themed Halloween costumes as a family. And this particular year, they said the theme was the Avengers. They had a son who was about 4 or 5 at the time, and he chose to be Captain America, and they picked out his costume first. A little while later, he comes back up to the cash wrap in full costume, brandishing a phone. He told me he had found it on the floor, and he had to protect it because phones are very important. He then asked me if I could help him find who it belonged to. So I made an announcement asking if anybody was missing a phone, but unfortunately, it was all to no avail. At that point, I asked him to give me the phone, and I told him that I would hold on to it until someone came back for it. He looked at me skeptically and flat out refused to hand it over at first. He explained to me how phones have all kinds of important things on them and that they are not toys. I then had to give him my solemn word that I would take good care of the phone before he would finally hand it over, and I then sent him back to his parents after that. Well, about 10 minutes later, the phone started ringing, and I noticed that the screen said home. So I answered it, and it was, of course, the customer looking for her phone. I then told her where she could find it and that I would hold on to it for her. Another 15 minutes or so after that, the woman came into the store asking for the phone. I asked if she was in a hurry, and she looked a little confused but said that she wasn't, so I asked her to hold on for just a moment. I went back and I found the little Captain America, and I asked him if he would like to return the phone to its owner. And you know what? He gleefully said yes. So I handed him the phone and we walked back up to the front together. He then presented the woman with her phone and explained to her that he had found it and taken good care of it because he knew how important phones were. The woman then thanked him profusely and he gave her a sharp salute and then ran off back to his parents. At this point, the woman turned to me and said, "That might be the cutest thing I've ever seen. Seriously, you don't know how much I needed that. It's been a really awful day." I then told her it was no problem and I was glad that she got the phone back. Man, I love stories like this because this was not only wholesome but incredibly heartwarming. I think I would also have a pretty bad day if I lost my phone and I was stuck trying to figure out, okay, let me retrace my steps. So to not only find out that your phone is back, but to also have it handed back to you by Captain America himself, that would definitely brighten anybody's day, and I honestly just really love this story. I got back at my roommate for constantly stealing my food, because after dealing with this for so long, I decided that enough was enough and that I simply would not take this any longer. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've had this roommate for about 6 months now, and for some reason she thinks it's okay to help herself to whatever's in the fridge, especially when it comes to my food. I tried talking to her multiple times, but it never changed. I was getting frustrated because I work hard for my groceries, and she would always take the last of whatever I bought, even if it was clearly labeled, and it really felt like she wasn't even respecting me or my stuff. But finally, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I went to the store and I bought a few things that she really liked, things that were just a bit more expensive. I didn't tell her, of course, but instead I mixed them in with some of the most awful, disgusting stuff I could find, like overly spicy sauce or expired products, things that would definitely not taste good. Then I just carefully swapped it all in the fridge so it looked like my usual stash, and then I just let her steal my food for the next couple of days. Now, the best part about this is that she never said anything, but I could tell that she was completely disappointed with what she was getting. Now, it is a little petty, but it honestly felt so good to know that she was getting a taste of her own medicine, because trust me, my roommate absolutely deserved it. Oh man, I've never run into anything like that personally with roommates, but I think I would be super frustrated if that did happen to me. Because you put it best, you work hard, you buy all this food, and then she just walks in and says, "Okay, that's mine, thank you very much." And it's like, don't do that. What are you doing? That's weird. Don't take my stuff without asking. That really sucks for me. So overall, I'm kind of glad you did this because this definitely taught her a valuable lesson. Because you definitely should never steal anyone else's food. Am I the jerk for snapping at a girl for breaking my car mirror, all while she was checking her makeup and literally did not tell me about it? Because right now, I'm incredibly frustrated and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I was helping my girlfriend host a party for her friend, who's also a photographer. It was part of a barter agreement. My girlfriend throws the party and the photographer gives her a free photo shoot. I had just gotten my car back from repairs after it had been rear-ended and sat out of commission for over 6 months. And naturally, I parked it far away from the party to keep it safe. Well, early into the party, the photographer had a meltdown because she thought 400 balloons weren't enough for the jumping castle. She then pulled out another 200 and expected us to blow up those two while she was crying all about it. My girlfriend, who was also trying to enjoy the party, brought her a drink and tried to calm her down, and the rest of us were busting our butts getting everything set up. The photographer ended up going over to the spa where I parked my car and stayed there for a while. At some point, I got asked to go buy some more ice, and when I got in my car, I noticed the side mirror had been folded awkwardly forward and was half hanging off of its housing. I managed to pop it back into place and I drove off, thinking that it was just a minor thing. On the way out, I asked my girlfriend if she knew what happened, and she just casually told me that the photographer used my side mirror to check her makeup, and that really annoyed me, because for starters, who uses someone else's car mirror like that? And secondly, it's a fragile, recently repaired car. After I got the ice, I tested the mirror controls and I found they no longer worked properly. The mirror was stuck and wouldn't fold back in electronically. And you know what? I was pissed. When I got back to the party, I vented and made a probably sarcastic comment while handing someone the ice. I said something like, "Hope her makeup looks amazing because she broke my mirror." And well, this sparked some drama. The photographer came running up, saying she just twisted it a little and that she could fix it if I had only said something. I was already frustrated and I told her, "It's fine, I'll fix it." And then I just walked away. And while she did keep following me, I honestly just stopped listening. Later, when I went to leave, I was cornered by 3 of her family members demanding to know what she did to my car because she was crying again. They wanted me to leave the car with them so they could fix it. I politely declined and I made an excuse. I didn't trust anyone else with my car after the long repairs. Later that night, I took the door panel off to investigate and I found out she had somehow sheared straight through the wiring harness with a sharp metal edge while twisting the mirror. I mean, that's how rough she was. I texted her the next day to say I was sorry for being upset, and I told her the mirror was fixed and she didn't need to worry. She hasn't replied in 3 days, and it looks like she's ghosting both me and my girlfriend, and now might not even follow through with the photo shoot. So seriously, am I the jerk for calling her out and being visibly annoyed when she broke my car mirror? Because right right now, I seriously don't know what to do. No, you are not the jerk because people like this need to be called out. It's pretty obvious to me that everybody in this person's life walks on eggshells around this lady, and they're too afraid to call her out on stuff like that because this is how she acts. She has a breakdown, she freaks out, and she tries to play the victim of something that she did. Literally, all she had to do to fix her makeup was go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. But instead, she decided to mess with your mirror on your car, literally by ripping it out of its socket. And yet somehow she's playing the victim to try and make it be like, oh man, I'm so sorry, I can't do anything right. And it's like, well, I don't know about that, but you did break my mirror. And the fact that 3 people came up to you and said, okay, how can we make this right, is kind of proof to me that these people do not know how to say no to this lady, and they don't know how to like put her in her place in a way that's like, okay, you're an adult. It's time to act like an adult and own up to stuff. And having a breakdown and crying is not going to get your way. So in my opinion, I'm very surprised you guys are even like friends with this lady, and I say that as nicely as I can because this sounds like pure manipulation. So no, you're not the jerk for calling her out because she absolutely deserved to be called out. Because at the end of the day, she broke your mirror, and that in my opinion is not okay. My general manager implements a new rule that literally would fire just about everybody in my department, despite the fact that we are literally the reason this company is staying afloat. So my direct manager decided to maliciously comply by quite literally going along with their stupid plan and showing them exactly why this was a dumb decision. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, I work at a large Fortune 50 company, but just like everywhere, management comes up with one-size-fits-all non-metrics. The latest was revealed by our manager, who surprisingly is the hero of the story. It has always been the metric that if you fell below 70% of your quota on a quota-eligible role, you risk being put on a performance review plan. It is also well known that anyone getting on a performance review plan, PRP for short, is pretty much toast. Either you get fired for failing the PRP, or you are first on the next layoff list. And usually, they replace you with a newbie fresh out of college in one of the 2 lower bands. My particular team is made up of all senior people, and every one of us is in the top 2 skill grades. So we know we are a target, which is insane, as all of us engage the C-suite at other large Fortune 500 companies and act as trusted advisors. We cannot be replaced by a new graduate with intern-level performance. So our intrepid hero, my boss, is pulled into a 2-day seminar about 2 months ago that goes all the way to the General Manager of Sales Americas. Several senior HR managers are there too. It is a rare in-person meeting, so people are cautious, but at least they know it's not a mass layoff kind of deal, as the first day is about the path forward and how important our division is to the company strategy. They go on about how our division is the front line of expanding sales in our partner program to take it from 60% of revenue to 85% of revenue, with 75% of new growth expected to come from the partner channels. The company absolutely is relying on our division and our skilled staff to deliver on that goal. The second day is different, however. In the afternoon, they lay out the new plan for technical sellers, 80% attainment per year, and backdating 2 years. And again, this is a rare in-person meeting, so people are cautious, but my manager goes into it. They say, I'm just asking questions here, but let me understand. If last year they hit 100% attainment, and 75% of that my team did it, but the previous year they hit 79%, then they are on a performance review plan. Human resources then hems and haws and says to us, well, that's how it would work. So my manager says, oh, I see, and there's no exceptions? The general manager then speaks up. They say, that's correct. Everyone must be a top performer. No exceptions. My manager then starts gathering his things and says, would you mind if I skip the rest of the day? I have a lot of work to do, apparently. The general manager looks at him and says, well, no, we have more to cover. What's so urgent? He looks at the general manager and maliciously complies with the stated metrics. He says to him, based on the metrics and the no exceptions rule, I have to prepare PRPs for my entire team. No exceptions. I will need to start the open headcount to hire replacements for everyone too. Now at this point, the general manager looks confused, attempting to digest this new information. Most of the rest of the managers stick their hands up and basically say, we need to go too. We need to write up PRPs for all of our people too and submit open headcounts. A quick count shows that 80% of our division would be on PRP. Given the failure rate, that means about 70% of the team will be fired, 10% will be laid off, and only 20% will remain. For growth strategy of the company, the tip of the spear is in partner sales. My boss points out that retention of personal and reduced turnover is part of the roll-up objectives, as well as attainment of his reports. That means that he will get hit, as well as his manager and her manager, literally all the way up the chain with no exceptions. The meeting wraps up after the discussion dies down, and the general manager says that they are not implementing this now, but they will in a few months. Well, in those 2 months, there have been more online meetings, there have been questions asked, there's been more data pushed from the human resources systems, meetings with HR and legal, who is now very interested in this plan of theirs, culminating in a meeting this last Monday where the revised plan was revealed. A new exceptions plan has been put in place at the insistence of the legal department. Gone is the informal put together a package to be evaluated for an optional exception for your employee. And now there's a set of formal exceptions that cover a number of categories. Legal ones like taking family leave or medical short-term disability in the last 3, and functional ones like having been moved between departments or job titles or having a non-quota designation in the last 2 years if the quota plan changed significantly or had a metric with no previous history to set the target. There's 10 or 12 categories depending if you count the overlaps. An exception resets the timer to the next calendar year. So if someone qualifies in January, they're off the hook until next January. Well, it turns out everyone in the division now qualifies for 1 or 2 of these exceptions. And it's like, yeah, imagine that. So you know what? Thankfully, my boss was looking out for us, because often just maliciously complying with stupid requests will literally show exactly why it's so bad. Oh man, I can't imagine that situation. Here you are with a team that is literally keeping this company afloat, and these guys are like, oh yeah, you're all gonna get fired. And by the way, it's for stuff that you didn't do. And it's like, dude, you've got to be kidding me right now. That is so dumb. Imagine literally taking up what, like almost 80% of sales, and then being taken down by other people not doing their job. It's like, wait, don't fire me, fire those other people. Make them have a performance review plan. Don't punish me just because they're sucking. So truly, I love the fact that your boss stepped up and said, wait a second, what's going on right now? And made them realize that, hey, if you fire us, you're practically screwed. Because that really would have been a mistake, and they absolutely would have suffered. My entitled stepmother makes my life a living nightmare, as she does something to me that truly changed everything about my life in a way that has truly made me never forgive her. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened quite a few years ago when I was just a kid, but the entitlement still stings to this day. My parents were in the middle of a nasty divorce. My dad had moved several hours drive away and was now living with the other party who caused the divorce, who's also known as my stepmother. Even though I was only a kid, I was semi-aware of what was really going on. It wasn't the first time my dad had moved out because of another woman, but it was the first time the word divorce had been mentioned. But in the past, he had always come home after a few weeks full of apologies. So when my stepmother first met me and loudly declared, "Call me mom," I was immediately in her bad books by saying no thank you. But her entitlement only got worse. While dad was in the process of moving in with my stepmother and sorting custody of me out with my mom and solicitors, he would sometimes take me out on day trips, but my stepmother would always come too, and I became her little project. I wasn't the prettiest kid, but mom had always said I should enjoy being a kid and not worry about looks for now. In contrast, my stepmother's kids, one being older than me and one younger, both wore makeup and dressed like they were going to a nightclub. And as my stepmother's little project, I had to look like I was going clubbing too. My clothes would be removed as soon as she saw me and replaced with crop tops and mini skirts. She would sit me down and force my hair into plaits with hair gel, and my original clothing would always conveniently go missing when it was home time, and my mom couldn't play that game with my new trashy clothing, because even if a single hair clip that I had been forced to wear went missing, then my dad would be calling up on my stepmother's behalf and talking about solicitors and police for theft of property. A custody arrangement was eventually worked out as me living full-time with my mom and staying with my dad for school holidays. And that first and last week was really rough on me. In all fairness, my dad did try to keep me entertained, but I wasn't used to living with other children. Combine that with also sleeping in a strange place after never being away from my mom for my entire life equals an uncomfortable situation. After a few days, I confessed privately to my dad that I really miss my mom. Now, I can see how that hurt his feelings, but I wasn't asking to go home. I was actually angling to use his mobile phone to call her up. And I had used the stepmother's landline the day before, but she had hovered, listened the entire time, and it just felt really awkward. My dad looked upset, but told me to go and eat some lunch, and off I went. And here's where my stepmother's entitled behavior really exploded into something that was completely unacceptable. Sitting next to my stepmother, I suddenly had a plate slapped down in front of me by my stepmother, and she said to me, "There." When she said that, I was so confused, but I said thank you and I started to eat. Throughout the meal, she started making snide comments in my direction, all while talking to her daughter, saying things like, "Ah, well done, sweetheart. See, you'll never disappoint me, unlike someone I know." I was a very timid kid, so I don't know where I got the burst of confidence to say something, but I said to her, "Is something wrong?" And my stepmother snapped back at me and said, "You know what? Your father is very important to me, and you've really hurt his feelings." Now, I tried to explain, but she snatched the plate from me and stalked out of the room. I followed her, still hungry, and tried to take my plate back, but she just unleashed on me. Standing in this hallway with basically a stranger screaming in my face is something I'm never going to forget. I was apparently an ungrateful brat, and she washed her hands of me. I then burst into tears and completely shrank into myself, and I just kept screaming. Now, a little reminder, I was a kid under 10 years old, and she was over 30 years old. My only crime was missing my mother. I honestly think that she she should have been the adult here and had a bit of empathy. Now, for a bit of additional context, I got taken home that day several hours driving with my dad, sat in total bone-crushing silence, and it did unfortunately damage our relationship. While my stepmother was squawking the house down, I vividly remember seeing him through my waterfall of tears, standing at the top of the stairs, watching us and saying nothing. I had no idea what he said to my mom and to explain why I was home 2 days early, but I never spoke to her about it. Today is actually the first time I've spoken about it, other than to my husband when we first met, and we're swapping awful family stories. Fortunately, the only 2 occasions I've seen my stepmom in the last 2 decades since then has been at family gatherings where we've been happily ignoring each other. Now, just for clarity's sake, the custody arrangement changed after that day. I never stayed at or visited my stepmother's house ever again, and instead, it was agreed that dad would pick me up from school every other Friday, and we would stay with his parents until Sunday afternoon, where he would then drop me back with my mom. And honestly, it was always awkward from there, mostly because I was resentful that he didn't jump in and defend me against my stepmother, and I still don't know why he didn't, as he always has in the past, and he still does if he's getting sentimental, because he has said that if anyone spoke to me like that or ever hurt me, that he would beat them up. So hopefully you can see where my gaslighting problems come from. He always said that he'd be on my side, so the fact that he wasn't must mean that I really deserve it, and so on and so forth. Also, my dad and stepmother weren't married at the time of the entitlement explosion. They got married a few months later on holiday abroad, and I was invited, but my invitation arrived only a week before they were due to leave, and it was a half-hearted one at that. Dad blamed the solicitors for not delivering the message quickly enough. Even though they were divorced by then, the situation was still very hostile, and messages were passed via solicitors for about a year post-divorce. Well, my mom wasn't keen on me attending their wedding, so I just said no thank you and I didn't go. Because you know what? I would have looked out of place with these people anyways. For full disclosure though, I do still love my dad. We get along well when we chat via text messaging occasionally, but we don't see each other that much. I just don't like the majority of his choices, stepmother being a big fat one. And I'm speaking literally. My dad always used to gloat about how amazing my stepmother looked to my mom, and how her stomach was flat and her belly button was pierced, whereas my skinny mom had a saggy belly from having me. Now, my stepmother, of course, reveled in his compliments. I always remember her swinging her red hair around in a really exaggerated way whenever he said how gorgeous she was. But you know what? The tables have turned though. Over the last 2 decades, my mom looks exactly the same as she did back then, but my stepmother is now rather large, and her red hair is now really red, clearly out of a box. The 2 occasions in the 2 decades that I've seen my stepmother went something like this. The first was a family party for my grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary, where in front of everyone, she called out my name and kissed my cheeks like she was thrilled to see me, and then ignored me when everyone else stopped looking. My grandparents are very proud people, and clearly didn't tell extended relatives that their son had got a divorce and remarried. For the entire day, people kept saying to me, "Oh, you're such and such's daughter. Your mom looks different. Her red hair looks interesting." And I just had great fun repeating the phrase, "Well, that's definitely not my mom. Dad left her for that one." And I never found out if my dad or stepmother heard that, because I avoided them all throughout it and I just left early. The second time was at my wedding. My stepmother was absolutely not invited, and it was just meant to be a tiny ceremony with my parents only, but my dad called a few days before and started pleading. He said to me, "Just for the ceremony, not the reception. Don't worry, you won't even know that she's there." Now, for a bit of background, my mother-in-law had already kind of taken over, and our parents' only wedding suddenly included a lot of her relatives. So I just shrugged, thinking whatever, nothing's really how I want it anyway, so why not? Well, true to his word, dad and stepmother didn't interact with anyone and left immediately afterwards, although my stepmother couldn't resist a tiny flash of entitlement by bringing her own camera. So as you can see, my stepmother is truly one of the worst people on planet Earth, and I'm so glad that I have limited interactions with that crazy woman. Wow, that is awful. I cannot stand people who act like this towards kids. Seriously, you're 10 years old and you're getting yelled at for like missing your mom? Like, are you kidding me right now? That is so dumb. It doesn't make any sense, and I really just cannot stand that. You shouldn't yell at kids like that. They're not the reason you're having problems in your marriage and all this other stuff. They are literally innocent, and your stepmom is old enough to know better than to do that. So truly, I'm so glad that you don't have any kind of like contact with her, and she plays very little role in your life, because in my opinion, you do not deserve that kind of treatment in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend not to join me on a vacation, all because she's in a really bad financial situation? Because right now, I'm worried that I might offend her by telling her the truth, but at this point, I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year, and coming up soon, I will be traveling to Las Vegas for a work event. My company is covering my round round-trip international flight and expenses during the event. After that, I'm planning to use my vacation days to spend some time in Florida, and that part will be paid out of my own pocket. Now, my girlfriend wants to join me in Florida, but she is not in a good financial situation. I just received my annual bonus, which is just enough to cover my own travel plans. She doesn't have the money and suggested asking her dad to help cover the trip. But here's the thing. I know her family is struggling. They don't have a car, there's often a lack of basic groceries at home, no proper shower stall, no curtains, things like that. So it really just doesn't sit right with me that she'd ask her dad for money to go on vacation while those basic needs are unmet. I would love to travel with her someday, but I just feel like this isn't the right moment. I'm worried that she'll take it personally or think that I don't want her there, but to me, encouraging her to spend or borrow money for this trip feels irresponsible. So seriously, am I the jerk for thinking that she shouldn't come and should instead use the money for more important things? Because right now I'm honestly not sure what to do. No, I don't think you're the jerk at all, and honestly, I think you're doing the right thing here. Because let's think about it for a second. She literally doesn't have the money to go on this trip, and I totally get it. You don't want to be away from your partner, and obviously this would be a fun trip, but at the end of the day, like, she just doesn't have the money for it. So I think expressing that and saying, hey, maybe let's wait and like plan something in the future because this is just not gonna work out. Like, that really would be a valuable conversation, and in my opinion, I think it's something that needs to happen. Because you're right, it really would be incredibly irresponsible for her to go on this trip, and I really think it would be important to say something sooner than later. Am I the jerk for refusing to be my sister's bridesmaid, all because she chose ugly friends to make herself look better? Because I think what she's doing is honestly a little too shady for me. But at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my sister is getting married, and she asked me to be one of her bridesmaids. Now, at first I was excited until I found out who the rest of the bridal party was. Every single one of them is someone she's either not that close to or has made fun of before for being awkward or not photogenic. In fact, some of her actual best friends, you know, the ones who she actually sees all the time, weren't even asked to be a bridesmaid. It felt weird, so I asked her why she picked this group. Well, she just kind of laughed and said, "You'll understand when it's your wedding. You don't want people who will outshine you in your own pictures." I then just stared at her. I then asked her, "So you picked them because you think they'll make you look better?" She then just rolled her eyes and said, "It's not that deep. I just want to feel confident that day, and I'm allowed to be a little selfish for my wedding." Well, when she said that, that rubbed me the wrong way. I told her I didn't want to be part of a bridal party built on tearing other people down, even subtly, and that she should have picked the people that she actually cares about. And now she's calling me judgmental and sensitive. And our mom says I'm being too idealistic and should just support her. But I feel like going along with it just makes me complicit. So am I at fault for not wanting to be a bridesmaid? Because right now I honestly do not know what to do. Okay, first of all, I don't think you're the jerk for backing out because this really is kind of sketchy. Why would she not want her best friends a part of her wedding party? Like, it seriously doesn't make any sense to me, and that just really is kind of backwards. Is she that insecure that she's like, okay, let me get the least good-looking people that I know and just bring them in? And from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like these are people that she actually likes. It's people she's made fun of and people that just like, I don't know, they're kind of like the side friend that nobody like has anything to do with. So like that aspect of it, in my opinion, is super weird. So no, if I was in your shoes and I knew that information, I absolutely would back out. I would say, no, I'm not going to be a part of this, and there's no way I'm going to be complicit in that. Because what she's doing, in my opinion, is very mean. And I just don't think that you have any reason to play along with it. My mom is constantly checking my bank account and then gets angry when I tell her that I don't want her to do that. And even though I'm 18, I'm honestly at such a breaking point because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm an 18-year-old male, and I've had my own bank account since I was about 15 years old. And my mother was previously a co-holder of the account. Since I turned 18 about a half a year ago, she has no say over my account anymore since I am an adult now. Now, for some important background, when I was younger, I struggled with addiction with alcohol because I was struggling with severe depression. I made some not so good financial choices during that time, and that's something that I will admit. However, I have been thinking of therapy and rehab. I've been working a stable student job for the past half year. I'm studying nursing in college, and I've been sober and relatively happy for about 1.5 years. My addiction is what caused me to hand over all financial responsibilities regarding my money to my mother. Since I turned 18, I have full control over it again, and I have been trying to actively save. Well, my mother decided I was still untrustworthy because I buy stuff I don't need. The truth is, I buy things that make me happy, like some nice perfume or a plant for my room. My mother decided she needed to supervise me and downloaded my banking app while also forcing me to tell her the code, and now she regularly checks my account. When I ask her to stop, she gets angry and says that this is her right as a mother and that she needs to do this for me. And at this point, I'm getting fed up. My mother has been emotionally awful my entire life, and I'm at a point where all I want to do is finish my degree and get out of here. I've been thinking about changing the code to my account so she can't access it, but I know that this will come with a whole lot of garbage, which is something that I have very little energy for. My entire family is telling me how I'm in the wrong since she's my mother, while also saying that she's just looking out for me. I'm still debating on whether I should do it or not, but I'm heavily leaning towards doing it and using the aftermath as a moment to tell her and my father that they are the reason for my mental state to start with. So honestly, I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because at this point, I don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, yes, you absolutely should probably change your bank account PIN because letting your mom have access to that, in my opinion, is not smart. And sure, she's just trying to look out for you, but this seems a little too intrusive. And yes, she did have access to it when you were just a kid, but now you're 18 and you're an adult, meaning that she just can't have that kind of access any longer. It's not fair for you and you're just trying to live your life, so she needs to take a step back and respect that obvious boundary. So no, I don't blame you for wanting to change your PIN number, and honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would do the exact same thing. An entitled passenger refuses to remove his shoes at the airport, forcing one of the attendants to lay down the law in such a way that honestly was so satisfying to watch. Here's what happened. So back in the early 2010s, I had to fly to New York City each week for work, and this went on for several months. Flying out at the time, you had to remove your shoes when you were going through security, which honestly is no big deal, it just takes a few seconds. But of course, there are always those who want to argue about it. Our smaller airport often had a huge line, often with 100 or more people, because on Monday, everyone was flying to warmer climates for vacation, and there were announcements in 3 languages telling you to remove your footwear, not to mention the signs that were all over the place. Inevitably, someone would be wearing flip-flops or sandals, and when the attendant would ask them to remove their footwear, the customer would complain and say, "But it's only sandals." Now, luckily, the main attendant who was there every Monday would not put up with it. This idiot had heard several announcements and saw several signs, and had been asked directly by the attendant to remove his footwear. She would politely ask him to step aside, and then she would explain that all footwear meant all footwear, and then ask him which word he did not understand. When he would finally begrudgingly remove his sandals, she would then just thank him. Then the best part about it is that she would send him back to the end of the line, and if this guy would protest, then she would more firmly tell him to go right back to the end of the line. The offender would always shuffle off grumbling, and everyone else in line would hastily begin taking off their shoes. And you know what? I would always start an applause as well. This sort of thing happened almost every week, and it was honestly the highlight of my morning. Okay, I love this because sometimes customers are the absolute worst, especially passengers on airlines. Like either you're a normal person and you're just going along with whatever's being told of you, or you're some weirdo who's like, "No, I'm the exception. I'm the exception to this rule that everybody else follows." It's like, dude, what are you talking about? That is so weird. The fact that they want to try and act like that and act super entitled is just uncalled for, because that guy was absolutely out of line, and it's really cool to see that somebody put him in his place. Am I the jerk for not showing up to a school volleyball tournament that I was registered for without my consent? Because right now, people are being really passive aggressive and I just don't know what to do. So I attend a high school where student-organized sports tournaments are a recurring tradition. A few weeks ago, one of my friends took the liberty of registering a volleyball team, enlisting several of our classmates, including myself. But the catch is that I never actually agreed to participate. Now look, I'm not really that athletic. I don't play volleyball, and I have precisely zero interest in pretending otherwise. And this was obviously common knowledge. I was added to the roster regardless, allegedly as a coach. And of course, this was more symbolic than functional, because everyone, including the captain, knew that I wouldn't be playing. Then, shortly before the event, the very mastermind behind the entire endeavor switched teams and joined the school pros. This triggered a cascade of others backing out as well, with most of them declaring that they wouldn't attend school the day of the tournament. Thus, the consensus was that the team had effectively dissolved, meaning that the problem was seemingly fixed. Well, I stayed home since I was confident in this collective withdrawal. My mom knew I wouldn't be in school that day, and I was officially excused, but she wasn't aware I had never been listed as a player in the first place. I figured that no one would show any interest since the team had already seemed defunct. Well, this is where the spicy part and the plot twist comes into play. The same people who swore off attending showed up after all. But even worse, those few who had indeed remained committed from the beginning had mentally prepared for a canceled match and are now unexpectedly being pushed onto the court, unprepared and heavily betrayed. Now, as for me, I didn't show up. I wasn't needed, I wasn't willing, and honestly, I didn't want to spend the day justifying a role I'd never signed up for or agreed to taking. But now there's a whiff of passive-aggressive disappointment from the student organizers. Like I somehow violated an unwritten social contract by not magically appearing for a team that was supposed to be obsolete the day before. So truly, am I at fault for the way this all went down? Because at this point, I don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, this is so toxic it's not even funny. You mean to tell me the team captain bailed, everybody else followed along, and now people are pissed off that you, someone who didn't even sign up, didn't show up either because literally no one else was gonna be there? Like seriously, how are you being blamed for this in the slightest? That's the dumbest thing on planet Earth. You didn't agree agree to any of this. And I guarantee you, if anyone actually tried to approach you about this, that could be your argument straight up. You could say to them, look, I never even signed up for this. And I would literally tell them, if you want to be pissed off, go talk to the captain that bailed out at the last second. That is literally who you should be pissed off at, not me. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, because this entire situation, in my opinion, is completely insane. My mom seems to think that I owe her everything, claiming that because she gave birth to me, that means I'm indebted to her pretty much for the rest of my life. And I'm honestly so sick of hearing her talk like that. Here's what happened. Okay, so growing up, my parents constantly reminded me that I owed them for everything, from the food I ate to the fact that I existed. My mom especially had this mentality that because she gave birth to me, I was forever in debt. She literally used to say, "You're lucky I didn't leave you at the hospital." And it's like, what are you talking about right now? When I started making money from side gigs in college, instead of being proud of me, she would say, "Good, now you can start paying me back for raising you." In fact, I once bought myself a cheap secondhand phone after saving up for months, and when she saw this, she lost it. She said that I was selfish for not using that money to pay the electricity bill at home, when I literally just don't even live there anymore. Well, I've now come to realize that she sees parenting not as a responsibility, but as an investment that she expects returns from. So seriously, does anyone else have parents who think their job as a parent automatically makes them your lifelong creditor? Because as of right now, it seems like mine does, and it's honestly one of the worst things I've ever had to deal with. Oh man, what a terrible situation. Seriously, your mom's trying to be like, "Oh, you owe me for everything. I gave birth to you, I fed you. You need to give me money all the time. By the way, pay for my electricity bill." It's like, dude, what are you talking about? This is so weird. First of all, I think you know this, but it's maybe like a good time to say it, but you do not owe her a single thing. She's literally trying to use you for some kind of like income, and that, in my opinion, is just completely unhinged and uncalled for. Seriously, it's just weird. Like, even you buying your own phone and buying something that's used somehow came off as like, "Oh my god, you're being so selfish." Like, that altogether, in my opinion, is so toxic, it's just not even funny. So no, obviously you don't owe your mom anything, and I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. And hopefully you're able to find some distance from her, because from the sounds of it, she does not sound like a good mom in the slightest. My girlfriend told me that her family was in a serious accident, but when I checked up on them, absolutely nothing seemed to be wrong, and they all seemed to be completely fine. And now I'm convinced that my girlfriend lied to me for no reason the entire time. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 22-year-old male, and I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend who's 23 for about 3 years and 8 months now. For most of that time, we've had a strong and healthy relationship. We've supported each other, communicated well, and spent a lot of time together. Recently, I started a new job, so I've been a bit busier, but we still make time to meet every day, talk on video calls, and stay close. Earlier in our relationship, she told me she had a heart condition related to her vagus nerve. It never really affected our day-to-day lives, but I've always tried to be understanding and supportive whenever it came up. About a month ago, she mentioned feeling unwell, and she said her heart was racing, but afterwards she seemed fine and life went on. Things started to shift about a week ago when she told me and some of our mutual friends that both her father and grandfather had been in a serious road accident. According to her, they live in a mountainous rural area and had to be taken to a hospital 4 hours away. She even said that one ambulance got stuck in a landslide. Her father was reported to have developed blood clots, and her grandfather was in critical condition, eventually being transferred to the largest hospital in our state. Throughout all of this, she stayed at our shared flat, saying she was managing everything through phone calls. Then she told us that her grandfather had flatlined at the hospital but was revived. And later, she said her father was being moved to the same hospital in critical condition. The next night, she claimed her father's ambulance had been in another accident and had to be redirected back to the regional hospital. And this is when I started noticing inconsistencies. She was telling us that she had been in constant contact with her family, her mother, brother, and doctors, but when I saw a missed call from her flatmate and briefly checked her call log, there were no signs of her calling or receiving calls from them. This really confused me, because I had heard her supposedly talking to them in the room. I didn't want to jump to conclusions or accuse her of anything, so my friend and I decided to call her family directly, just out of concern more than anything else. Well, wouldn't you guess it, her father answered and sounded completely normal. He said that no one had been in any accident or hospitalized. He also called her brother and he confirmed the same thing. But even after this, the following day, she told us her father had flatlined and was revived 20 minutes later. I'm at a complete loss right now. I care deeply about her and I want to believe there's an explanation, but at the same time, I'm feeling confused, hurt, and unsure of how to process everything I've been told. I also worry that this could be a sign of something deeper going on emotionally or mentally. So here's my question. How do I bring this up with her in a way that's honest but gentle? I don't want to accuse or corner her, but I do need to talk about what I've learned and how I'm feeling. Has anyone been in a similar situation, or has any advice for how to approach this with care? What should I do? Oh man, this is super sketchy. Seriously, this is a big red flag in my opinion, and I would not ignore this. You mean to tell me your girlfriend has been lying about her father and grandfather nearly dying over and over again, and is not at all explaining what's actually happening? Like, good lord, that's so weird. There's no excuse for that. Like, even her looking for attention is a weird excuse in and of itself. And for me, that just doesn't stand on its own 2 feet. It doesn't make any sense, and there really is not a good explanation for that. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would literally say to her, look, I spoke to your father and he's fine. Can you please explain yourself, because this is so weird? And in my opinion, if I was in this relationship, there is no way I would ever take this lightly. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My former stepmother is one of the worst people that I've ever known, and now she has slowly turned up back in my life in a way that honestly I never expected. Here's what happened. I first met my former stepmother, who we will call Crystal for the sake of the story, when I was about 7 years old, and we didn't realize she was entitled until much later. At first, she was really nice, and my dad liked her for her kind personality, as well as, at the time, her deep faith. When they got married for the first few years, everything was wonderful, and I really got along with my older stepsister. But it wasn't until after she broke her leg that I started to see her entitled side. She was so demanding of us kids to do stuff which, at the time, us kids didn't know how to do. I was about 11 years old being asked to make dinner, and all I knew how to cook at the time was eggs. My dad had put a stop to a lot of it, but she would lay it on thick to him, saying that we should be doing this stuff because her leg was broken, even though it didn't prevent her from getting up to go smoke or grab another beer. It built up over the years until finally my dad had had enough with one incident that probably could be its own story in and of itself. They ended up getting divorced, and my youngest brother is in split custody due to the state that we live in, with my dad having the primary custody. Well, it turns out she was addicted to all sorts of substances, both legal and illegal, and still thinks that she's entitled to us kids even though I'm an adult now. Now, onto the event itself, I got an email from a site people use to look up offenders in your area, if you know what I mean. And specifically, the email was addressed to Crystal. It had her address in it, which I never lived at, as well as her name and phone number, but it was my email. I searched through my email to find out if this was a one-off fluke, but it wasn't. I have about 4 emails for sites that she signed up to using my email address. Now, I saved the emails if I decided to go legal with it, but I decided to be petty and change the passwords on the accounts before deleting them. I honestly don't know when or how she got my email, but I am not the little girl that she could bully around anymore. Yeah, I can't stand like former family members or like people who are like absolutely estranged in the family, who then feel like they have some kind of ownership over you, even though clearly they're not a good person and they're obviously just trying to like use you in some kind of way. And in this case, it's like, oh yeah, you're trying to use my email address, like get lost, lady. So hopefully this ends sooner than later, because from the sounds of it, your stepmother does not sound like a good person. My friend's fiance, as well as my friend group at large, were very rude to my new girlfriend in a way that is truly costing me all of my friendships, because at this point I'm very frustrated and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of backstory, my friends and I had just all moved out and lived in the city just before COVID hit. A buddy of mine matched with a girl on Bumble, and she brought some friends around, and very quickly we became one of those friend groups that dated each other. Now, I was one of the single guys because I didn't want to date within my own friend group. My friend dated this guy for a long time. She seemed cool, but definitely had some of her own issues with maturity and jealousy and other things. And a few summers later, she set me up with a friend of hers. Long story short, after a month, I knew I didn't want to date her, as we were just not compatible for one another. She took it to heart when it wasn't personal, and she really wreaked havoc on me the entire summer, including telling my friends any secrets that I had, lies about my body, personal details about my family. I mean, you name it, she said it. It ended sour, but I eventually moved on, except for the woman I briefly dated and my friend's fiance. Although we remained civil, everyone could tell that there was tension, and it caused me to feel alienated with my own friends. And my friend later got engaged to the original Bumble match. Fast forward to this summer, and I met someone through my local running club, and pretty quickly we hit it off, and we've been dating ever since then. We've been together for 10 months now, and it's been the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. Unfortunately, I got invited to my friend's birthday party in January, and his fiance had my past fling with her. The entire time my girlfriend and I were there, they were passive aggressive towards me and my girlfriend, and were acting pretty rude by not saying anything to me or her. Now, what hit the hardest was that my friends didn't bother to say anything to us either, because if her fiance's unhappy, then everyone's unhappy. Just before midnight, I left to go back to my apartment with my girlfriend, who was upset. I found out the next day after telling a friend who wasn't there that they were sort of rude for not saying anything, talking to her, and basically pretending in a way that she wasn't there and neither was I. Well, their response was to say, "That's insane. They told me you didn't properly introduce her to every person." And this really made me furious. For people who are my friends, it seems like my friend's fiance made that as an excuse to being rude, especially when I approached them saying her name and that she was my girlfriend, especially when some of them have already met her before and she sat there for almost 4 hours being ignored. I have friends outside of this group, but when I told them this story, they all told me how awful they sound, how rude they are, and how sad it was to treat someone new like that. And since then, some of the friends in that group no longer talk to me as much as they used to. Now, why am I posting this? Well, because next week is their moving in party to their new house where all family and friends are invited. I got a personal invitation from them asking for both of us to attend. Now, I can't help but feel as if this is a trap, and I refuse to put a good person through something like this ever again. So should I leave behind my group of friends? Am I overreacting in some kind of way? Should I call out my friend's fiance on her immature and toxic behavior? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Okay, honestly, these do not sound like good friends at all. It sounds like they've turned their back on you because of some weird misunderstanding or some kind of like circumstance with dating, and now they're literally treating you like crap right to your face while also pretending to still be friends. Like, in my opinion, I think you really need to take these situations for what they are and take them for face value. These people are treating you like crap. No friend in their right mind would act like this, and I think you need to listen to your gut here. Because I know if I was in your shoes, I would happily start focusing on the other group of friends. I would move over to them immediately and not look back. I wouldn't care if these people get upset by that, especially if they're going to be disrespecting you and your girlfriend like that. And you know what? It sounds like your friend's fiance is the reason all of this is happening, and the fact that everybody's going along with that, in my opinion, means that they all agree with this fiance. By them allowing this to happen, it really does mean that they're okay with it. And that, in my opinion, is not the mark of a good friend. And if I was in your shoes, there is no way I would ever want to deal with that. An entitled teacher gives me detention, all because I went to the bathroom in the staff bathroom, resulting in my mom as well as another teacher being livid about the situation. Here's what happened. Okay, so basically what happened is that I ate something bad and I was really desperate to use the bathroom in my school. It was recess and all the girls were hogging the main bathrooms like freaks trying to get ready for the Met Gala. Hysterical screaming, unintentional makeup sessions, bathroom hogging to chat with their annoying friends, and to use their phones in private. And as a side note, we don't allow phones in the school day, and they collect our phones until the end of the day, where we retrieve our phones and call our parents and all this other stuff. There are special cases like art students or English class activities where they give students the privilege to keep their phones out. It was so bad that I had to move to our second bathroom, and yes, we have two bathrooms, one with 5 stalls and the other with 15 or 17. And this second bathroom was the bigger option, where the socially anxious people typically go to. Sadly, the security did not bother to unlock it and let me through. Plus, no one had the key for this bathroom yet. I was getting desperate during this time, and I was getting anxious about possibly crapping my pants. In our school, we have girls and boys divided into two sides of the school, where they primarily have lessons in their designated spots, or sometimes they'll go to the other side if their schedule tells them that they're having a class somewhere in the opposite side. There are girls' bathrooms on the boys' side and vice versa on the girls' side, and I wanted to go to the boys' side to use the girls' bathroom there, but sadly I couldn't hold it in, and that's where I discovered the staff bathroom beside bathroom number 2 to be empty. Well, I used it immediately, and I was relieved, but that's where the trouble started. My former math teacher, also known as the vice headmistress, who is the entitled teacher of this story, stood outside. She was with another teacher I didn't recognize who was also visibly displeased, and I tried to explain everything to them, but it simply wasn't enough. She looked at me and said, "What are you doing in the staff bathroom?" I responded back by saying, "I was desperate, miss. It really was an emergency." The teacher then said to me, "I understand that part, but you could have went to the girls' bathroom that was unlocked. Using the staff bathroom without permission is strictly prohibited." I then said to him, "But I went there and it was packed with a bunch of girls. I know that there may be vacant stalls right now, but I ate something bad, and I came this far and I was afraid that something bad might happen." Before I could continue, she interrupted me and said, "Still, that is unacceptable. You also could have gone to the office and asked for the key for the second bathroom. The staff bathroom are only for teachers and staff use at all times, and you must not use it a second time, else that's a misbehavior email sent to your parents. Understood?" I responded back by saying, "Yes, I understand, but miss, I could have made an accident if I hadn't used the staff bathroom right away." She then said to me, "I know that. Still, there are alternative places that you could have went to. You could have went downstairs to the primary bathrooms as well." Now, for reference, the primary bathrooms were prohibited for us 7th through 12th graders, and I couldn't even get there even if I wanted to. In the end, I had to sit in the reflection room as detention after school for an hour for taking a dump in the staff bathroom, and I was facing the walls purposefully from my anger. Eventually, as teachers passed by the room for a good 10 minutes, I spotted my other headmistress who manages the upperclassmen, namely the 10th through 12th graders. She immediately walked in and asked me why I was there. I explained everything and she looked livid after that. She told me that that teacher teacher shouldn't do that, and using the bathroom was basic human rights which they cannot take from us. After bailing me out and comforting me, she had a talk with the other teacher and told me to leave quickly. I also told this to my mother, and she's planning to have a talk with the principal and this teacher about this situation since they kept me from leaving for an invalid reason. I don't have any updates on the situation yet, but right now my mother was truly disappointed, mostly from this crap and also with them not informing my mother about it and making her wait late outside for picking me up to go home. We're currently sorting this entire thing out right now because this entire situation is incredibly frustrating. Okay, first and foremost, you did the right thing by telling your mom because hopefully your mom can take care of this in a major way. That teacher is out of her mind if she's really gonna act like that and pretend like, oh, you can't use the bathroom for emergencies, and then send you off to detention as if you did something wrong. From the sounds of it, and especially based on the reaction from the other headmistress, it doesn't seem like you're a bad kid at all. If anything, it seems like you're just like a normal kid trying to go through school, and this other teacher has a stick shoved up where the sun doesn't shine and is taking it out on you just because you had to use the bathroom. So seriously, hopefully your other headmistress and your mom chew these people out for what they did to you, because this is absolutely unacceptable. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my sister and her kids move into my apartment simply because I don't feel like I have to share with them, and I'm finally back on my feet after working incredibly hard? Because right now my whole family is saying that I'm the jerk, and at this point I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 28-year-old male, and I've been working my butt off for the last 5 years after a really rough patch in my early 20s. I got laid off twice, I went through a breakup, ended up couch surfing for a while, and even stayed in my car for a couple of weeks. I finally landed a stable remote job last year, cut out all the non-essentials, and started aggressively saving. A few months ago, I got approved for a small but decent 2-bedroom apartment in Texas. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. I'm not rich or anything like that. I've still got to budget carefully, but just the idea of not having roommates or sleeping in someone's living room feels like I've won the lottery. Well, I made the mistake of telling my mom, and she was happy for me until she casually mentioned it to my older sister, who immediately called me and said, "So when should we start packing?" Now, I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. It turns out she assumed that because I was moving into a 2-bedroom apartment, it was obviously for her and her 2 kids, and her kids are ages 5 and 7. She's been living with her ex's parents for almost a year, says the situation is toxic, and she needs to get out as soon as possible. But here's the kicker. We haven't even talked in over a year. There wasn't a fight or anything like that, we just drifted apart. And she never once asked how I was doing when I was struggling. I told her gently at first that this place is my fresh start, and I've worked really hard for it, and it's my first shot at peace and privacy in years. Well, she flipped out. She said I was being selfish and that family helps family, and that her kids deserve a better environment. Then my mom jumped in, blowing up my phone. She told me that I should let them stay until my sister gets back on her feet, and that it's heartless of me to let my niece and nephew suffer. Now, everyone in my family is calling me ungrateful and cold, saying that since I don't have kids or responsibilities, I should be the one to make sacrifices. Some even suggested that it's just a couch, like I'm moving into a mansion or something like that. But I've been the person sleeping on couches, and I begged for help and I've gotten silence. I didn't guilt trip anybody, and I didn't try to move into someone else's home, I just figured it out. Now that I finally have something of my own, I'm being told that I'm the bad guy for not giving it away. So truly, am I the jerk for telling my sister that she can't move in with me, even if it means that her and her kids might end up in a shelter of some kind? I honestly feel like I'm drowning in guilt, but I also feel like I earned this. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, in my opinion, I don't think you're obligated to help them out at all. Maybe that's heartless, but guess what? Just because you have a 2-bedroom apartment doesn't mean that she's somehow welcome to move in. Like, that level of entitlement and just assuming like, oh yeah, I'm moving in, don't worry, I'm on my way. Like, that's crazy and there's no good excuse for that. So no, you're definitely not the jerk here, because trust me, if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. I caught my husband on multiple hookup and dating websites, which has led me into a downward spiral, as right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so at the beginning of the year, I had logged into my husband's computer to fill out some paperwork that needed to be printed. I then noticed that one of his open tabs was a map of a random apartment complex address. Immediately, I felt something wasn't right, so out of curiosity, I looked at the history on his computer, and my god, my gut was right. I found that he had created multiple profiles on hookup websites starting as early as November of last year. And when I say multiple, I'm talking about 15 sites, maybe more. I noticed on the majority of the websites, he was the one to initiate the conversation by sending explicit pictures to random women asking how they felt about casual hookups and wanting to talk more about them. Later on that day, when he got home from work, I confronted him about all of it. He said he wasn't serious about any of it and had created them due to having a mental breakdown, which he showed no signs of having one at the time. He swore up and down that's all it was. Well, about a week after I confronted him, that gut feeling of knowing something was off just still hadn't gone away. So I asked to see his phone and I was right again. He has multiple dating apps on his phone, some of which were installed back in February of 2024. There were also lengthy conversations on Telegram that showed him asking about all kinds of services, if you know what I mean. At this point, I had gone into a downward spiral and began to experience symptoms of PTSD. By the time I somewhat snapped out of it, he had deleted all of his history on his phone and his computer along with all the apps and the websites. Now this tells me that he's hiding more, but every time I ask him about it, he says there's nothing more that he's hiding. I may not be the smartest person in the world, but I do know that when somebody deletes all of their history, that usually means that there's more that he doesn't want me to find out about. So seriously, how do I get him to open up about the honest truth? I am not the type of wife who will constantly nag him about it until it eventually comes out. I stupidly still love him and I don't want to end our 12 years of marriage, but I don't know how to trust him ever again or get rid of the extreme PTSD that I still have from all of this. What should I do? Oh man, I can't say much of what you should or shouldn't do, but I know for a fact, in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would be like absolutely losing my mind. There's no way I would put up with that for a second, and that in my opinion is a red flag that I simply could not ignore. Like first off, I kind of wish you had taken pictures or screenshots or something, just so you know for a fact that no, you're not crazy, because if we're looking at this legitimately, there is no way this is some kind of like accident. He didn't do this because of a mental breakdown. He did this because yes, he was 100% gonna cheat on you. Like that is absolutely what was gonna happen, and I'm so sorry to have to spell that out. So hopefully this works out between the two of you, because what your husband did, in my opinion, is incredibly messed up. Am I the jerk for offering my clothing to a coworker after I lost a bunch of weight? Here's what happened. So I have a coworker that I am very close to, and we eat lunch together every single day. Now, it's important to know that I have a lot of clothes, and so many things that I've never even worn that they still have tags on them. My coworker is always commenting to me that she loves my clothing, and if I ever decide to give anything away, please come to her first. And for reference, we were the same size. And I say we were the same size because recently I lost a lot of weight and I've gone down 5 sizes. I've been working really hard at it, but I haven't been talking about it that much because it seems to be a bit of tension between the two of us. She's never said anything outright, just some passive-aggressive comments about how I'm getting too thin, and I just ignore it because a lot of people say that, and I think it's just a result of the shock of me losing weight. I still have about 30 pounds to lose before I even hit the 150 mark, and I'm still very short. I'm definitely not too thin, and I still suffer from body dysmorphia, so I don't even think I'm thin at all. I recently went through my clothing, and I have a shocking amount of things that have either never been worn or have only been worn once. So I put them together in boxes, and on my next trip into the office, I asked her if she would like me to bring those in so she could go through them. Well, her face took on this very shocked expression, and then she said to me, "Why would you ask me that? Why would you insult me by asking me if I want your hand-me-downs? That is so humiliating." And when she said this, I was stunned, and I think I might have actually said I was sorry and just walked away. To make things even worse, there's another friend in the office who was also my size, and as we went out to the car later that day, she asked me what the boxes were in my car, so I told her they were my larger size clothing and that I had brought them for our other coworker, but she didn't want them even though I didn't go into the details about it. Well, she went nuts and asked if she could go through the box instead. She called her daughter who worked very close by, and we spent the next 45 minutes going through the boxes and getting the stuff that she wanted. They literally took almost everything. While they were doing it, the other coworker came outside to leave for the day and saw what was happening, and she just got in her car and left, and later that night she texted me and lit into me about me giving the clothing to the other coworker. And now I'm so confused. Did I insult her in some way? And if I did, why would she even care if I gave the clothes to someone else? After several years of a good working friendship, she won't even speak to me anymore. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now I don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. It seems like this other coworker is just pissed off that you lost all this weight while she hasn't lost any. And instead of still being your friend, she's now trying to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you," and trying to play like the victim or some dumb crap like that. Like, no, I don't think so. Because you literally still considered her a friend, but she clearly feels otherwise. So no, this is not a friend, and this is not someone you should even have to deal with, because you absolutely didn't do anything wrong. My entitled mother-in-law keeps asking me about my inheritance that I'm getting from my dead grandparents, constantly pestering me and going behind my back to try and find out how much money I'm getting. And at this point, I feel like I'm going crazy because right now I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my grandparents recently passed away 10 months ago. They were extremely hard workers and ended up having a decent amount of money to leave to the family. I was extremely close with them, so their passing really impacted me. For context on the will, I'm getting a nice gift of money from them, but it's nowhere by any means life-changing. But regardless, I just don't see it as my mother-in-law's business. My mother mother-in-law is the sort of person that when talking about someone will always refer to their wealth. She is obsessed with what people have. She has a real victim mentality, so often she'll say, "Oh, I wish I had this. How lucky is she?" She also is a massive bragger and a name dropper. For example, my sister-in-law was dating a wealthy man, and it was all my mother-in-law would ever talk about. She didn't even refer to him by his name. I used to have a good relationship with her, but she has said some very hurtful things, so now I really struggle with her and find interacting with her really painful. She lives out of town but has been back to visit 5 times since my grandparents passed away, and while the will is being dealt with, every time without fail she asks me, "Oh honey, how is everything going with your grandparents' will?" Or she'll ask me, "Is your family selling your grandfather's house and business?" I try to keep my answers to one word and roll into another conversation, but she is getting more persistent. I know she is pretty open about her finances with her family, but my family isn't like that. Most recently, she directly asked my husband what I received as an inheritance when I wasn't around. He knows I want to respect my grandparents who were private people and not talk about specifics. So he said I received something, but he isn't sure exactly how much, even though he definitely does. Well, my mother-in-law sulked about and didn't talk to him for many days, as apparently it's not a big deal. I mean, family shares this stuff, and I just want to know that you're okay. Now, my husband is softly spoken and avoids conflicts at all cost, so he really just tries to keep the peace without any kind of arguments. I know a more direct question is 100% coming from her soon, particularly as we are selling my grandparents' house this week. So is there any suggestion on how to deal with all of this? I don't want to have a confrontation with her. I mean, she does play the victim no matter what, or one with my husband, even though he should be setting boundaries, but I really don't like how she keeps asking, and I find it pretty disrespectful. I just don't see why she needs to know any of this information. And at this point, I'm so frustrated that I really don't know what to do. Okay, this really pisses me off because this is so uncalled for. She has visited your house 5 times and she lives literally in another town. And she's only doing that because she wants a piece of the pie, or what she assumes the pie would be. Like seriously, this is so toxic. And it's such an awkward thing to ask somebody. Like in my opinion, you just don't ask about other people's money. You don't get involved in that. That is such a weird, murky territory that I personally believe is completely out of line. It's just out of bounds. It's something you don't talk about and you just leave that alone. I would even put that up there with like politics and religion to an extent, especially when we're talking about like family and like family stuff going on. Bringing finances into the mix is so intrusive. And I think it's so funny that your mother-in-law is not even like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your loss." But instead she's like, "Okay, so how much money did you get? Is that will getting figured out? What's going on?" While also going around your husband, who is incredibly spineless in my opinion, and asking him what's going on and how much money you're getting. Because guess what? You've got it right. He needs to start setting boundaries. He cannot allow that woman to walk into your life and act like this, even if she does play the victim, which by the way is just a cop-out, and it's a place for her to hide when someone inevitably calls her out. That's why she does it. Like that's the only reason she acts like that. So in my opinion, I would be very direct the next time she asks a question like that, because there is no way any of these questions are even remotely appropriate. And I think if you do that, hopefully she'll get the picture and leave you guys alone, especially if your husband's involved, because I really think if he's not involved, this is just gonna fall on deaf ears. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My boyfriend says that I start all of our arguments, and he says that he blames me for our problems, leaving me wondering if it truly is all my fault, because right now I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, lately my boyfriend and I have been arguing a lot. For reference, I'm 29 years old and my boyfriend is 48. Yesterday, he told me I'm the cause of all of our problems and that I provoke every single argument. He's always kind of implied it, but hearing him say it so directly really hurt. He also called me a liar and overly sensitive, and that really stung. So I asked him, is that really all you see in me? If I'm causing all the problems, then why do you even want to be with me? And I wasn't trying to start another fight. I genuinely wanted to understand, but now I don't know what to think. I mean, is it really all my fault? I told him that arguments shouldn't be about blame, but about working through things together. But he just kept saying, well, you like arguing, don't you? You start all the fights. He's generally a kind person, but sometimes I don't feel that kindness from him. I couldn't sleep last night. I just kept replaying everything, wondering if I could have handled things better. I did say some hurtful things too, and I do feel guilty. I pointed out that he has a pattern of blaming his exes for his past failed relationships, and he told me that before it was always his exes, but it wasn't fair of me to bring that up. I also hold on to certain things, like the time that we had an argument on a holiday, and I walked off and sat by the sidewalk crying, and he then took pictures of me while sitting next to me smiling at his phone camera. When I asked why, he said it was to show me how I ruined his evening. That moment still lingers, and sometimes I bring it up because he never really apologized. I've noticed that I cry more easily now, and it might be dramatic, but sometimes I just can't help it. Last night, when he was ignoring me and tried to leave, I said, if you leave now, it's over. I know that was toxic and I apologized afterwards, but I was just hurt because he was ignoring me. I'm scared of being too insecure or even a narcissist. I want to be better, but I don't know how. And as much as I feel lost in this relationship, leaving feels impossible. I love him too much, and if I left, I know he would never let me see his dogs ever again. I love them dearly, and the thought of losing them too just breaks me even more. What should I do? Okay, what in the world is going on right now? Like, this guy's an awful boyfriend. He sounds like a really big piece of crap. Like, just absolutely not a good person at all. First off, the fact that you're even trying to pretend like he's a kind person is absolutely a lie, because this guy does not come off as kind. He comes off as a massive jerk who would rather take pictures of his girlfriend crying on the sidewalk instead of trying to like sit down, apologize, and figure things out. Like, what are you talking about? This guy is not a nice person, and I don't know why you're putting up with it. Because no, you're not being too insecure. You're not being dramatic. Like, I think you're asking for the base level of respect you would want out of a relationship. So in my opinion, if you did want to leave, it's totally possible. And sure, you won't see the dogs anymore, but my God, you would be away from this toxic weirdo because that's all this guy really seems like to me. So hopefully you can see that this guy is not all he's cracked up to be and that you absolutely can do better, because your boyfriend doesn't sound like he loves you in the slightest. And instead, he really sounds like a massive bully. My mom and dad are the only bullies I've ever had my entire life, as they are also the only people to ever make me cry. And even to this day, they still affect me, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I don't remember much about my childhood at the house, but one thing I do remember is being mocked and bullied by my parents. Every time I would cry, they would laugh at me and mock my crying. This specifically would happen during fights, and I would never cry to them about something personal because they were the ones who made me cry. They would make me cry over small things too, like a stain on my clothing or me closing the door too hard. And honestly, not much else comes to mind except for me crying. They still do these things to this day, and I'm now 21 years old. I thought I would have gained a little respect as I got older, but I was wrong. One thing my dad likes to do is accuse me of not taking accountability if I tell him that one of his accusations is untrue. For example, there was a time when someone left a crack in a glass cup, and he immediately assumed it was me. I told him it wasn't me, and he shamed me by saying I don't take accountability. He also told me that just because I don't pay for things around the house, I suddenly don't care about the items they buy. This happens a lot, and to stay on his good side, I have to accept his assumptions, even though they're not true. Either way, I get in trouble. My dad also has a limit on how often I can go out. If I go out one day, I can't go out again for the rest of the week. Sometimes I tell them I'm going to work, turn off my locations, and go do something else instead. Now, when it comes to my mom, she confuses me so much. One day, I think she likes me, and the next, I think she doesn't. She pushes me away and then pulls me back in. One time, we got into a huge fight about why I was upset on my birthday, and this happened on my 18th birthday. The reason I was upset was because the first restaurant we went to had a long wait, and my family told me to choose another place. All I said was, okay, let me think. And then my sister got mad at me for some reason, and it made me feel a little emotional, so I started crying. My parents then looked back at me and said, why are you crying? Oh my God, there's no reason to cry. I tried explaining why I was upset, but then they just got mad at me. My mom and I were then cleaning and washing the dishes later on, and we touched on the topic of my 18th birthday. It turned into an argument, and I said something like, well, that's stupid. And then right there, my mom tried to hit me. She's a head shorter than me, so I was just trying to avoid getting hit in the face. But one thing I would never do is put my hands on my mom. I tried leaving the house because the whole situation caught me by surprise, but she tried blocking me from leaving and took my car keys. So I left on foot on a hot summer day, adrenaline pumping through my body. I didn't realize I had scratches on my arms from my mom trying to hit me and sores forming on my feet as I walked on hot concrete. My dad found me and picked me up, trying to calm me down, and my brother was there with him. When I got home, my mom was sitting there in tears and told my dad that I had put my hands on her. She had no marks, but I did. I showed my dad my marks, and my mom said something that still breaks my heart. She looked at me and said, she did that to herself. You know how she is. She lies all the time. My own brother then said that he saw me putting my hands on her. So I gave up after that, and I just kept quiet. Now, my brother, for some reason, likes to see me get in trouble. I don't know why he lied that day, but he does that often, and I always forgive him even if I don't want to. My parents also love calling me crazy, always telling me that I need help. Sometimes I overthink what they say, and it starts affecting my mental health. I try to limit interactions with them because every time I see them, we can't go a minute without arguing or them giving me snarky remarks. I still love my parents dearly when they're not this way. I know I'm not perfect either, but I just can't take their behavior anymore. They're the only people who can make me cry, guy, and I'm doing the best I can to toughen up and not let the dumb things they say affect me, but it's hard. I think maybe I'm too soft, but honestly at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, please tell me that the original poster does not live with them anymore. Seriously, these people are awful. They're not good people. If you do live with them, then you need to figure out a plan to get out of that house. That does not sound like a safe environment in the slightest. These people are monsters and they're treating you like garbage. They're not kind people. They're not loving people. They are awful in like the worst way possible. I mean, just look at your mom and your brother. Your mom claimed that you hit her even though she hit you. And then your brother, being the nasty monster that he is, tried to be like, oh yeah, I saw her do it. Like, what are you talking about? None of that's true. You need to speak up and get out of there. Like, this is not a loving environment. These people don't love you. Like, they are textbook narcissists and you do not need that in your life because the way they're treating you is incredibly bad. Am I the jerk for not being willing to split the cost of a group gift when I literally was not even included in the card and the gift itself? Here's what happened. Okay, so one of my friends got a new job recently and some of my friends decided to get her a little gift. I was in the group chat where it got brought up, but I was super busy with studying and I didn't say much. A couple people were throwing around ideas and I figured they'd update us later. Well, last weekend they gave her the gift, which is an AirPod Pro, and posted a little photo of her holding it with a card. And you know what? I didn't even know they picked something out already. I also wasn't asked to sign the card or even told when they were giving it to her. Then that same night, one of the girls' Venmo requested me $20 for my share. I asked what it was for, and she said, well, the gift obviously, like I should have just known or something like that. I told her I didn't get to sign the card or even know what they picked, and she said it didn't matter because I was part of the group and it's just what we all agreed to. But it's like, okay, but I never agreed. I don't think I was included and I wasn't even asked. After that, they are saying that I'm making it awkward and that it's not about the money. It's about celebrating a friend, but I kind of feel like I was treated like an afterthought and still expected to pay. So seriously, am I the jerk here? Because right now I am incredibly confused. No, you're not the jerk. This is really weird. Seriously, they pick out a gift and then after the fact, they're like, oh, by the way, because you were in the group chat, you owe us $20. This is clearly just for the gift, obviously. I mean, you didn't know about it, but you do now. It's like, no, if I'm not signing that stupid card, then guess what? I'm not going to be paying for the gift because they move forward without you and still expect you to pay for it. Like, what is that about? These people are idiots if they think this is making things awkward because this is really awkward for you, even though you didn't do anything to like contribute to the gift. You were added into this group chat and then you were never talked to ever again until they wanted money. And that says a lot more about them than it does about you. So yeah, these people suck and you are definitely not the jerk because if they wanted you to have any kind of like financial contribution, then they should have included you from the beginning to the end. My mom is the most toxic person I know. And after enduring it for so many years, as well as going through therapy, I seriously thought I was the crazy one until one of my friends finally admitted that they no longer like her as well. And at this point, I can't wait to move out because I seriously want to put this all behind me. Here's what happened. Until I sought therapy last year, I wondered for my whole life if my concerns were valid. I wrote a list of 95 reasons why I dislike my mom, which I condensed down for the internet. I will not reveal my exact age, but I am female in my mid-20s and my mom is in her late 50s. There are many details I'm leaving out as well, so in the event my family read this, they wouldn't know that it's me. I trimmed this down multiple times and there's a lot of missing information. So to start things out, I have an older brother who's a few years older than me. As a child, I noticed that he was always prioritized over me during family conversations or even dinner. Due to my brother's poor life decisions, my parents' lives will always revolve around his issues more than mine. My mother also treated us differently. When I got glasses, my mother was upset because I no longer fit her family's beauty standards. I was not allowed to wear glasses in photos, but my brother was. She also let him watch rated R movies at an earlier age than me, let him smoke the herb, and was still upset with me when I said that I did, and doesn't bat an eye when he skips church while she gets upset when I do. She would pick up my brother from school if he had a headache, but forced me to go to school when I was sick with an autoimmune disease. Beginning in 2nd grade, I had to help mom do every job that she ever had. She always acted incapable, and honestly, I think she is. Like, she is just quite stupid. My brother never had to help her, and my mom always knew I was more responsible than my brother, and yet she is against me moving in with my fiance before marriage. My brother got to move in with his girlfriend, and mom didn't seem to mind. I mentioned earlier about my brother's poor life decisions. She always pushed his problems onto my dad, who now has anxiety. Lastly, she failed to recognize the codependency issues between her and her son, which mirror her own mom and brother. Mom has always had a very tense relationship with her toxic mother. Those issues were not addressed properly before she had to move in with us, and mom has never sought counseling for any of her family problems. My mother attempts to portray her family as this good Christian family, but we are far from it. Meanwhile, her marriage to my dad has never been one I've looked up to. The relationship has always felt tense and awkward, and mom doesn't seem to appreciate dad for providing for the family for their entire marriage or for dealing with their son. She just loves to complain at him for little things. When I saw counseling last year, she insincerely apologized for everything she's ever done to me. She failed to recognize my autistic symptoms, and I had to pester her for about a year before she took me to get a diagnosis as a high school senior. I've always felt like she relied on me for happiness. She has expressed jealousy of my talents and tried to live vicariously through her children. She is easily set off, and I always had to watch what I said around her to avoid a hissy fit. Until I went to college, I felt like I had to revolve every decision around her. She would fake emotions to get me to feel worse about things that I did, and she openly admitted to doing that to her students multiple times. My mother overworked me in elementary school, as I had to help her with her job after school. Then I had other extracurriculars after that. She wondered why I was falling behind in math, and actually blamed my teacher for it. She also frequently picked me up from school during math time whenever my brother wasn't feeling well, and when I didn't have friends, she manipulated me into thinking my classmates were the problem when it was really me. She does not understand boundaries and gets upset when my brother and I politely try to settle them. She cites that she is in her 50s and knows more than we do about boundaries. Anytime anyone tries to criticize her, she just shuts them down and defends herself. She is also incredibly lazy. There have been many times where she gaslit me into believing I did things that I never did. To this day, she still views me as a teenager, even though she acts like one herself. She lacks awareness of her emotions, which is why she quickly escalates serious conversations. Despite claiming to love gay people, she did not believe or accept my bisexuality. She has expressed negative views of other religions, often in front of my friends, and she would not accept my religion, nor would she want to be educated about it. She is transphobic, xenophobic, and openly sexist. Despite her constantly speaking out against other groups of people, her daughter is knowingly a Buddhist, and her son has all kinds of issues. And despite being an educator, she voted in a way that honestly I can't understand, and she wonders why her friends just stopped talking to her. I know she is going to try and indoctrinate her grandson, which is one of the many reasons that I don't want any children. Anytime her job assigned something that she didn't want to do, she gave up and just quit, even though she always told her children to never give up. She's fine with me and my fiance spending quality time together, but not okay with us living together. She spends hours watching TV every night, yet she claims that she doesn't have any time to clean her house. She says she is easygoing and flexible, but she really isn't. And trust me, I could go on and on about her hypocrisy. My mother has never had good eating habits, and she always gains back the weight that she loses. She won't exercise because she dislikes sweating, and her lack of exercise is now being reflected in her difficulty to move around. She went from being stronger than most men to the laziest person I know. She has also turned our family home into a storage unit. She constantly buys stuff off of Amazon, and she rarely gets rid of anything. Mom blames dad for not being able to throw anything away, but she is also the problem. And if dad and I had the choice, our house would be rid of all of her junk. Recently, my friend admitted that she disliked my mother, and she always had. And I was so happy to hear someone else say it. And so I wondered if strangers on the internet wouldn't like her either. But with all things considered, I will be moving out this summer as soon as I secure my next job. And so hopefully I can soon enough put all of this behind me. Yeah, that sounds like a messy situation, and yeah, your mom is incredibly toxic. It goes without saying that she clearly had favorites, and you were definitely not one of them. She had such a big double standard, it's not even funny. So yeah, in my opinion, I don't blame you for cutting her off and not wanting anything to do with her, because the way she treated you was completely unacceptable. Am I the jerk for not letting my coworker interrupt me anymore, as he constantly does this to literally everybody in the office? And after dealing with this for so long, as well as sitting idly by while he just interrupts everybody around him, I'm finally taking a stand and trying to get him to shut up. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'm the jerk, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been at my job for 3 years now, and in personal and professional conversations, my coworker continually interrupts me. And this is not just me, but it's everyone. Usually, someone will start to speak, and after about 2 seconds, he will interrupt. Not always about the same subject. Sometimes he will just spark into a completely different topic. There's professional conversations that have to happen, and we literally sit right next to each other. I always thought that's just how his brain works, or he's got a different communication style or something like that. Well, recently, I started to just literally talk louder and not stopping when he interrupts. It usually leads to both of us talking for about 1 to 2 seconds, and sometimes he will stop and slow down, and sometimes he just keeps going, almost ignoring what I'm saying. I feel crazy, and I feel like everyone else at work notices. I then just asked him to stop interrupting me, but when I brought this up to a friend, they said that that's a jerk move to do, even though it didn't work. So seriously, am I the jerk in this situation? Because right now, I don't know what to do. Okay, I honestly cannot stand when people do this, because there really is no good excuse. Like seriously, just wait your turn. Wait until the other person is done talking and then jump in. in. Don't just interrupt a mid-sentence and think it's gonna be okay. Like, that's obnoxious. That really is obnoxious. So in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with you literally addressing this in front of everybody and just being straightforward with this guy and saying, please don't interrupt me. And I think saying this in public really would make a big difference. At least that's what I would do, because then he will absolutely know right then and there that this is wrong and that he needs to change. So no, you're definitely not the jerk for addressing this, because this really is incredibly rude, and you do not deserve this in the slightest. I overheard my sister confessing her love for my fiance, leaving me in a weird situation where I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my friends recently hosted a little party get-together for my sister since she had been gone for a while in Florida with her boyfriend, but was coming back up north after they broke up. It had some of our mutual friends, along with some of her old high school buddies and some cousins. My fiance and I had gotten there a little bit late, but we were excited to join the celebration, and I was mostly happy to see my sister again since she has been pretty distant and rarely texted or called us. Nothing really happened other than some shots being poured and food being ordered until it was getting late and people started getting really drunk. Since wedding planning has been exhausting, my fiance and I were going to leave early. Now, to sum up a really quick moment, I had been walking to the bathroom and past the bathroom where I heard my sister crying into somebody's arms. Originally, I was gonna go see if I could help her out or comfort her, but then I heard my fiance's name and I paused. I definitely think I was the jerk for listening in, but I was curious and a bit drunk myself. But from what I gathered, she was sobbing about how seeing my fiance made it all real again, and that she didn't want to deny her feelings anymore, especially now that he's getting married to me. What really stuck out to me was when she said that she just wanted him to notice her too. I left pretty quickly after that and haven't told anyone about what I heard. Maybe I never saw the signs, but she was always so polite and friendly with my fiance. She knew him before anyone else since we were high school sweethearts, and I came out to her first when I was struggling with my identity. It is just such a strange thing to hear this from her, but part of me just wants to blame it on my drunk brain. She's never said anything like this before, and even greeted him when we got to the party, and they connected on a mutual interest for a bit, and she was so warm to me as well. I want to confront her to see if she meant it, but I'm also just so terrified of the result of all of it. My family has stayed drama-free, and I would hate to ruin everything now that my sister just got back from being away. I really need advice on how to proceed, and how to ask her about it without causing a scene. The party was a week ago, and I just feel sick whenever she messages me or calls to ask about wedding stuff, or just chatting in general. So I know that I need to do something. Has anyone been in a situation like this before? Because right now I don't know what to do. Before we go any further, the original poster has an update that they would like to share. Here's what they had to say. First of all, I want to thank all the people that responded. I really didn't expect to get so much advice, and I probably would have still been panicking and bottling this up if you guys didn't help out. But unfortunately, it still went bad. But I'm glad I listened to you guys for all of it. Also, to clarify a few things I saw people get confused on in the comments. My fiance is gay, and I never doubted his loyalty, which is why I barely mentioned him in the original post. I was mostly concerned about my sister, since we wanted her in the wedding party, so it was extra scary to hear she was crushing on my fiance. Along with that, I know a lot of you said to just leave it be, but for the reason above, along with my personal beliefs, I really did not want to let it simmer. Anyways, I ended up talking with my fiance the day after I made the post, once he got home from work and we were settled. I sort of just word vomited at him, but I tried to remember the advice that I had gotten. Well, he was equally disturbed, and probably a bit more since he has dealt with a similar situation at work once. We both definitely wanted to talk to her and just clear the air, and ended up making a little plan to meet her in a park. Originally, it was just gonna be me, but my fiance wanted to stay nearby in the car. So yesterday, I texted her and we met up. Honestly, I'm still recovering from everything she said to me, so I won't repeat much of it here. The basic idea is that once we chatted for a bit, I brought it up gently that I had heard her at the reunion party, and I wanted to communicate with her about the things that she said. One thing I didn't feel the need to mention in the original post was that I'm also a transgender man, and it didn't matter to the issue, or at least I thought it didn't. However, once I asked my sister, she started on a whole tirade with a lot of right-wing talking points, mostly that she didn't get why my fiance was settling for a confused girl rather than someone like her, and admitting that yes, she has feelings for him since she thinks he deserves better than me. I didn't say much to her, but once I realized what was going on, I just said that I was done and I left. I really don't know how she's changed so much since the girl I grew up with, because she used to be super supportive, which she even acknowledged, and said that she was just as lost as I am. After that, I was just a mess. My sister is living with my parents while she works to get a job in a new area, so she's also started telling them about the conversation. Both of my parents don't want to get involved, which I understand, and I tried texting her to tell her to stop bothering them, but she blocked me, so I guess that's that. My fiance wants wants to cut her from the wedding as a whole, and I'm just leaning on him as a pillar right now. I wish this was a happier update, and at this point, I still seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first off, the way that your sister's treating you is so disrespectful. She seriously is trying to like throw you under the bus and be like, your fiance deserves me instead of you. You're just a confused girl. You don't know what you want. And it's like, wait a second, what is going on right now? So truly, I think your fiance has a good point, and I think it would be smart to possibly cut her from the wedding, especially if she's talking about you like that, because that's super toxic and you do not deserve that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. I really want to go minimal contact with my mother, despite the fact that I still live with her at the moment, and at this point, I'm honestly not sure what to do. Here's what happened. So I've lived with a very entitled and emotionally impulsive mother for most of my life, and I'm thinking about finally cutting contact once I move out. Today we got into it because I made a snide comment about our chips and dip being gone so quickly. I bought some for myself and only had maybe 2 bowls of chips and some dip, and was basically gaslit into thinking that I had eaten it all, even though I clearly remember not eating the dip to the point that it was even halfway gone. It's a ridiculous thing to get upset about, I know, but then she got super defensive and argumentative and berated me. I wasn't even that upset about it. What really upset me was her gaslighting me about it and berating me. That's when I walked away, and she, of course, came and knocked on my door about it, and I was boiling on the inside. I usually shut down during confrontation due to having autism and ADHD, so I didn't say much and I just shut the door. This isn't the first time that she's been overly demanding. About 2 weeks ago, I was struggling really bad mentally and was noticeably depressed. She asked me what was wrong, and I told her I didn't want to talk about it right now, but she just couldn't leave it at that. She was asking all these questions like, what are you depressed about? Tell me what's wrong. You can tell me what's wrong, you know, as well as, oh, you need to talk about it. Now, I appreciated her concern, but blatantly violating my boundaries like that almost sent me over the edge. If I say I don't want to talk about something, I mean it. And her just trying to pry information out of me, I felt was extremely disrespectful. There's many things that she's done in the past that have made me lose trust in her. One of the worst was when I broke my leg in the 3rd grade and I needed help getting out of the shower. So she was helping me and I was getting anxious and scared and telling her to hold on and don't let me fall or put my leg down or even slip because our tile floors were getting slippery. She then got mad and pulled me by the arm, and I fell and she left me on the bathroom floor by myself. I literally had to pull myself up and get dressed all on my own. Also, the countless times that she got a little too aggressive with physical discipline in the house. Now, don't get me wrong, I had emotional regulation issues and behavioral issues as a child, but when you raise a neurodivergent child, as a parent, you need to be the stable one, and she definitely wasn't, responding to my behavior with aggression, threats, and ultimatums. Not only that, but she's also verbally awful towards my father. If anything goes wrong in the house or something isn't done, he gets the brunt end of the blame and called lazy and selfish, even though he works 25 hours a week, while on disability, mind you, to support her while she's unemployed. Also, when my sister was struggling with depression in college and opening up about it and crying, she made it all about her. She would say, "There's nothing I can do about it. You're making me feel bad about it." So yeah, I've just about had it, and the only reason I still live at home is because of my disability and the fact that rent is extremely expensive. I can't stand living in a house where someone constantly snaps and rants about the tiniest things and thinks that she's entitled to sympathy because of her awful childhood. And when she doesn't get what she wants, you will get called cruel and selfish. I have great sympathy for the fact that she went through that, since I was mistreated by other family members too, but I would never try to think I'm owed anything because of it. It wasn't my fault that I was mistreated, and neither was it hers. But at this point, I'm absolutely done with all of this, and I seriously don't know what to do. Oh man, I totally understand that you don't want to rent someplace, but from the sounds of it, anything seems better than what you're dealing with right now. Like seriously, this lady sounds obnoxious and incredibly rude, and I don't blame you for being frustrated, like seriously. So hopefully this works out in some kind of way, because your mom sounds incredibly obnoxious, and I know if I was in your shoes, I would not want to deal with that in the slightest. Am I overreacting for ending things with a girl after seeing a Hinge notification on her phone while we were on a date? Because right now, I'm concerned that I might have made a mistake. Here's what happened. For a bit of context, I had been dating a new girl for about 3 months. We met on Bumble and lived about an hour apart, but texted every day and met up at least once a week for a date night. At around the 2-month mark, I asked her to be my girlfriend. She said it was too early and she didn't want to put labels on things, but we agreed then to be exclusive and not to see other people. Last Saturday, while we were at dinner, I saw what I thought was a Hinge notification pop up on her phone. It was only for a split second, so I kept it to myself so we didn't ruin our evening. I thought maybe I was mistaken, but my paranoia got the better of me, and the other day I finally downloaded Hinge to search for her profile, and sure enough, I found it. Yesterday, I sent her screenshots and I asked her to please explain. She then started saying that she deleted all of her apps, but she just forgot to deactivate the profile. But then when I mentioned I saw the notification while we were at dinner, she changed her story. She said that she only deleted Bumble but not Hinge, and claimed that she just had it on her phone but wasn't actively using it. When I asked why I saw the notification go off, she said it was probably just a promo or a new like, but she hadn't talked to anyone new since our second date. After going back and forth, I told her I was having trouble believing her, and it felt like she was still looking around for a new guy. I would have 50 to 60-hour weeks and have had experiences in the past with girls stringing me along until they find someone better. I told her I thought we should end things here, and then she just unloaded on me. She said that we shouldn't break up over a misunderstanding, that I was the nicest guy she had ever met, and that on Saturday she wanted to ask me to finally be a couple but was too nervous to say it. Part of me wanted to believe her, but I felt like she was just saying what I wanted to hear since she had been caught. So seriously, am I overreacting for ending things so quickly over this? On one hand, I really have a hard time believing that she just had Hinge on her phone passively while wanting to be a couple like she claimed. It's a big 180 degrees to go from not wanting to put a label on things to me being her dream guy. I know that she had feelings for me, but I feel like she was still looking around to see what else was out there. I've had similar issues with exes in the past and don't want to relive the experience. On the other hand, what we had was good, and I really enjoyed being with her. In hindsight, we were early in our relationship, and maybe she was being sincere with what she said. Maybe I did rush and end things a little too quickly and we could have just talked it out. What should I do? Okay, honestly, I can kind of see both sides of this, but at the end of the day, I do understand why you did that, because having that kind of past experience of being strung along and feeling like you're not a priority absolutely can hit you like a ton of bricks. Because one day you're madly in love with this girl, but the next day she's suddenly like, oh, I don't like you anymore, see ya. And that is jarring, and I hope nobody goes through that. So no, I don't think you overreacted, because it really does seem like she was looking around for somebody else instead of trying to build a relationship with you. Am I the jerk for yelling at my mom for eating peanut butter in her own house, despite the fact that she knows my daughter is incredibly allergic to peanuts? Because right now, after I freaked out on her and chewed her out, I feel that I may have overreacted, and at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my daughter was diagnosed with peanut allergies a year ago. For reference, she's 2.5 years old. She became almost unconscious, vomiting, and landed us in the ER. It was terrifying to see my baby go through that. It's also important to note that I love my mom so much. We're really close, and she loves my daughter like crazy. Ever since the diagnosis, everyone in my family has been in agreement to not eat those nuts around her. It seems so obvious and easy to my brothers and my dad, but my mom keeps making what I think are dumb decisions. When we go on vacation, she will go out of her way to bring big bags of nuts and nut candy with her. She brought a little bag of pistachios when she stayed at my house one time and started shelling and eating them in my living room after my daughter went to sleep. She bought peanut M&Ms to eat on a plane ride we all took together. On these occasions, I kept my cool as I asked her not to do these things and pointed out the ridiculousness of her having to eat the one thing that my daughter is allergic to. Well, we've been staying over at her house for the past few days, and this morning my mom was eating a sandwich. My daughter then went over and asked for a bite, and my mom said, sorry, sweetie, you can't have this, it's peanut butter. And at this point, I kinda lost my mind. I calmly asked her why she was eating peanut butter, and she said, I don't know, as she dumped it in the garbage. And it's there that I kinda lost it. I got very emotional and raised my voice, which is something I never do. And I chewed her out for always eating nuts around my daughter, even though she knows that she's allergic to it. And despite the fact that I've asked her not to multiple times. I told her I want to trust her so badly to watch my daughter without me there, but I just simply don't. I can't now. And then I cried and stormed out of the room. Anyways, am I the jerk for yelling at my mom in her own house over this? Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. No, you're not the jerk at all. This really is unsettling, and I seriously can't believe your mom's acting like that. Because from my point of view, it doesn't seem like she's taking any of this seriously. And it seems like she's doing this almost like pointedly around your daughter. And that is seriously messed up if that's actually what's going on right now. Here you have a kid who literally will go to the emergency room and possibly pass away from that, and your mom's just sitting there being like, oh man, suddenly this is my favorite snack. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You are seriously being so careless about something that is so dangerous right now. So no, you're not the jerk in the slightest. I would be very pissed off if I was in your shoes, because she is literally not taking any of this seriously, and that is so unfair for your daughter. Am I the jerk for deciding not to invite my husband's family to my kid's birthday party after they literally called her a mistake? Because right now I'm really pissed off and I don't know if I'm overreacting. Here's what happened. Okay, so me and my my husband have been together for 5 years. We had our daughter pretty early on, and yeah, she wasn't planned, but we were happy and I have no regrets at all. His family, well, not so much. They've always been kind of cold towards me, and honestly, I've noticed that they don't treat our daughter the same as our other grandkids. Last weekend, we were at his mom's house for a late dinner, and she and my father-in-law were talking about my husband as a teenager. My mother-in-law then proceeded to joke in front of my daughter, saying how he used to be so carefree and go with the flow before he had to settle down so fast. Then she added on by saying, I bet he wished that he had more time before jumping into the dad life with an oopsie baby. And when she said this, I was pissed. We ended up leaving soon after that since it was getting late anyways, and that night as I tucked my daughter into bed, she asked me what an oopsie baby was. I felt heartbroken for her and basically explained that sometimes people have kids by accident, but that didn't make her any less special. After I put her to bed, I ranted to my husband, saying that I don't want his mother-in-law around our daughter if she's going to be saying stuff like that. The last thing I want is for my baby girl to be questioning whether or not she's wanted. I then said that I don't want my family-in-law at her 5th birthday party next month, and I won't be sending them an invite until they apologize for making things awkward. My husband says I'm overreacting over a small comment, and I need to relax and not make this a thing. He argued, saying that I shouldn't overreact at a comment that she made when she was tired. He told me I'm not allowed to uninvite his family, especially over this. So am I overreacting? Should I just suck it up and let them come to the party and risk my daughter hearing more harmful things? I'm honestly really upset, but I feel like I'm the only person who's mad, so at this point, I really don't know what to do. No, I don't think you're overreacting at all. This is completely reasonable in my opinion. They literally called your daughter a mistake. They said, oh, this is one of those accidents that didn't mean to happen. And worst of all, they said it in front of her. Like, are you kidding me right now? That is so messed up. You can't do that to a kid. Just because you accidentally got pregnant doesn't mean that you don't love your daughter and that you're not happy that she's around. Like, my God, what kind of monster would say something like that in front of the kid? So no, I don't think you're the jerk for not inviting those people, because seriously, what they said was completely messed up. My friend almost gets fired after I deny a report she made to HR about my manager, causing her to be very angry and making me question if I'm the jerk or not. Because right now, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 24-year-old male, and I work at a corporate company working from 9 to 5. I just graduated college last year and started this job 2 weeks after graduating around June. It's an internship at a solid company that's going to help me get better jobs and opportunities later on. In the beginning, everything was going great, and I made several friends, including someone who we will call Chelsea. Chelsea is a 26-year-old female, and she has been my friend since the beginning, and we share everything with each other and often go out for coffee and lunch. Just as a side note, nothing romantic or anything intimate has happened between us at all. It is strictly a platonic relationship. The problem started in November when I got transitioned to a different department under a manager who we will call Ryan. Ryan is a 43-year-old male and definitely has a narcissistic personality and loves getting his ego fed. And this is pretty well known throughout the office. Ryan loves ragging on the new guy. And since I've been the new guy since November, I've been the one who's getting the brunt end of it. Now, I have pretty thick skin, so I don't get bothered by it easily, but Ryan has noticed this and started really cracking down and started embarrassing me in meetings and giving me busy work so that I have less time to do the real work. And after 6 weeks of dealing with Ryan, I started looking for new jobs around December. After a long process of job hunting, I got an incredible offer in the beginning of March. But the problem is that my new job doesn't start until June. Obviously, I need to pay the bills, so I'm stuck working with Ryan for another 2 months. Since my current job only requires me to give 2 weeks professional notice, I decided I'm not going to inform them until the end of May, which is right at the 2-week mark. Until then, I'm just playing nice and making sure no issues happen so that Ryan doesn't try to sabotage my new job. Okay, so getting back to Chelsea. Chelsea doesn't work directly under Ryan, but works in an adjacent department, so she knows Ryan pretty well. Chelsea is also the only one who knows about my new job. Chelsea has been pressuring me to go to HR about Ryan's behavior, but I've told her that I don't want any problems and that I'm not going to go to HR. I just want the next 2 months to go by smoothly and get out of here. Well, the other day, Chelsea and I were hanging out in her office, and Ryan suddenly comes in. Now, for the purpose of being anonymous, I'm not going to say what happened next. However, Ryan did something to me that was definitely a fireable offense. After that happened, Chelsea told me I have to report Ryan, but I said no, and then I just left. Well, it turns out that Chelsea took it upon herself to go to HR directly. HR called me into their office and asked me for my side of the story, and you know what? I straight up lied. I told them nothing actually happened. So HR dropped the issues, but word got around and Ryan found out about it. And now he's trying to go after Chelsea and get her fired for being a liar. And now Chelsea is mad at me and won't talk to me, and she's blaming me for her almost getting fired. But it's my prerogative whether or not I decide to report it. I understand that she thinks that me letting it it slide means that it will affect other people too. But to be completely honest, I'm looking out for me and what's best for my future. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, the original poster is absolutely the jerk. You mean to tell me that you had a manager who was actively mistreating people in the office and who mistreated you in front of another person, and you don't have the guts or the spine to report it and get that guy in trouble? Like, are you kidding me right now? That is so stupid, because the way he's treating you, especially the part that you left out of the story, all of that is completely inappropriate, and it really leaves a bad precedent for that place. It doesn't matter if you're leaving or not. That guy deserves to be reported. Also, I'm pretty sure it's illegal for that guy to try and like sabotage your next job or like get you fired or in trouble or something like that, because at least from my experience, once you report someone like this and they try to like hurt your career, that can be seen as retaliation, and then you can sue them into oblivion. So to that regard, you absolutely suck for not speaking up, especially when you had every opportunity to do so. But also the fact that you threw Chelsea under the bus. You literally called her a liar and got her in trouble, and then seriously put a target on her back with Ryan staring right at her. Like, that makes you an awful person. And I really mean that. Like, that really is so messed up. So sure, you can sit there and try to be like, well, I'm looking out for myself. But at the end of the day, you ruined the one good friendship you had at that office. And the fact that you did that, in my opinion, proves that you absolutely are the jerk. Thanks for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And also, please subscribe to Am I the Genius? I think you're gonna love what they're making over there. It's a great channel, and you should definitely check it out. Everything will be linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.